At this point, we don't know if we live in the UK or a low-budget remake of Waterworld.
I have nothing to add to being shagged to death by Amazonian women.
Cats can't be trained because they're arseholes. They're much like toddlers.
They pack them in a bag that is some kind of almost quantum vessel that as soon as the tent's out of it, it's never going back.
So the only way that my boy can learn real commerce is not from the geography teacher. It's from running the locker in the school and selling these things.
No, I disagree. You can't just win on the first go. None of us have had a go yet.
I'm reliant entirely on tradespeople who I've learned are just masters at doing a big intake of breath and then saying, that looks expensive.
It's the last room you'll ever curate. It's your final chance to say, this is who I was without explaining yourself.
This was the most distracting thing of my week. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good evening and welcome to episode 6 of Last of the Line. It's the 12th of February and it's still raining. At this point, we don't know if we live in the UK or a low-budget remake of Waterworld, and nobody can remember what the outside world looks like when it's dry. Statistically, conditions are unsettled, but emotionally, we're heading into new territory, character-building rain. So if you're listening to this while staring out of a grey window, wondering we'll ever feel warmth again, you're not alone. But I've got some good news, because joining us in this national downpour are two new voices, Dan and Adie, both long-time friends, first-time podcasters, and brave enough to subject themselves to 2 hours of loosely researched opinions and mild character assassination. So welcome to The Last of the Line. It's middle-aged men, increasingly aware of their mortality, and now available with mild trench foot. So, Dan and Adie, scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you already want to leave? We'll go straight to Dan. Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk, Daniel? Are you okay?
Five.
Five.
I was very conscious to raise my hand, like my instructions were given to me clearly. But I'm going to go for a 5. I'm very nervous.
Very nervous.
Could I just say, if you're asked a direct question, it's okay to answer it without raising your hand.
He's never
Dan,
spoken
you
to
don't have
anyone
to put your hand
before.
up every time, mate. What's up?
Hey, I read the instructions. I'm clear. I don't want to be that guy that didn't obey the instructions.
Too late.
Well, let's introduce our better friend, Adie. How are you, mate?
Hello. Probably, I'm feeling more confident than Dan already because I've read the instructions and I know when to put my hand up. I'm delighted to be here. Why don't you ask me again in an hour?
Excellent. We'll take that as a brilliant opportunity to segue into our first question of the evening. Are we the last generation to read the instructions after breaking something? So we grew up trying, failing, snapping something, then reluctantly consulting the manual, but now the instinct is YouTube first before even touching the thing. So some stats. Over 70% of adults now say they look up to a video tutorial before attempting a repair or DIY task. YouTube is the #1 source for how-to searches globally, and instruction manuals are increasingly unused. Fewer than 30% of users read them. So, did trial and error teach us more than tutorials ever did? And are we more capable or just more cautious? Let's go to Shomit Dutta the 10th.
I've realised that I do this like weird little what's going on thing before every single question that I'm asked. I think when we were growing up, we used trial and error way more than anyone does now because, as you said, you will go to YouTube, you will ask your friends. I think we all grew up in an era where we were testing and learning and figuring stuff out, and there wasn't that much information available apart from like a manual, which ultimately a lot of the time wasn't that helpful. So I think we are better at solving problems. I think I mentioned this in an earlier episode where because my dad was disabled, I kind of grew up doing DIY from like the age of 8, and I'd be handed a power drill and have to figure out how to put curtains up because my dad couldn't do it. And because of that, I personally feel like I take on a lot of kind of tasks and things, and I love taking things apart. Like as a kid, I'd have a screwdriver, and if a radio stopped working, I'd be like, yeah, I'm 100% going to take this apart and figure out how it works and fix it. I'd say that worked 50% of the time. But yeah, I think I don't see my kids ever doing that. And I think we're in more of a generation now where things are more disposable because they're cheaper. Therefore, something breaks, you get rid of it, you buy a new one. And I do get that from my children all the time. They'll be like, well, we'll just buy a new one because that one doesn't work. And no one thinks about actually fixing it, or like even things like sewing, right? So at Christmas, Ellie got me a sewing machine, which I absolutely loved. I wanted it. I asked for it because I like to fix things. My kids don't think like that. If something's broken, it's done.
What are you gonna make with your? What's the first thing you're gonna make with your sewing machine? This is extraordinary to me. Good for you,
Okay,
man.
so so this isn't the first thing I made with my sewing machine, but it's the first thing that I've made in a long time with a sewing machine. So this Christmas, my wife got me a sewing machine, and unbeknownst to her, I'd spent the last 4 weeks prior to that making her a down cover for our bed, because she'd said during a holiday that she saw this down thing. It's basically like a thing that you put on a bed, that she absolutely loves. So I recreated it. I did have the help of one of our neighbors who's very good at sewing. And that is the point at which I realized I'd be really, really shit at having an affair, because Ellie would say things like, oh, where have you been? And I'd be like, oh, I was out on the phone having a walk talking to Pompey. And she was like, you never walk and talk. Why have you been outside? And so all of these questions kept coming up, and it's like, this looks like I'm having an affair with Kate. Massively looks like I'm having an affair.
But the answer should have been, oh, I'm next door watching my neighbour make your Christmas present.
Actually, do you know what? I would say she did 80% of it. I did the bit where I sewed on a handmade label that said handmade by Shomit Dutta. That was very important. But Kate does know that she did 80% of the work.
Well done, mate. It was a thought that was yours. Adie.
I mean, I gobsmacked. I thought we were on Would I Lie to You, and you were about to say it's a bluff. Of all the things you were going to say, I wouldn't have put any money on sewing machines. Not at all. I mean, well done you for picking up a new hobby at this important middle-aged stage of your life. Yeah, well done you. I mean, more generally, I think like we are the last generation, and when we used to get a cool new toy, opening it up and reading an instruction manual was kind of part of the process, part of the excitement. Kids now, if you buy an Apple Watch or an iPhone, you don't even get an instruction manual. It relies on a QR code to get the details or intuitive setup. And also, I just think people are less patient, so and a little bit stupider. So rather than read the troubleshooting and it says, oh, check the wiring point here, and you get your screwdriver out and you have a little look, people are just a bit dense and they're nervous about breaking it. So they have to go on YouTube and watch somebody step them through it. So I think there's a little bit of lack of confidence, because unlike Shomit, who grew up having to do DIY and take a bit of responsibility, I never had to do that. I can't wire a plug. So I've got no sort of confidence in my ability to fix things. So I need that idiot's guide on YouTube. So not only are we sort of the last generation to use instruction manuals, I'm already into that YouTube era, because it's just a skill that I don't think we're taught as much anymore.
I'm totally with you there, mate. I mean, it is just, I've already let instruction manuals go. It's just, it just don't really do anything either, do they? That, if there is a troubleshooting section, it's sort of super generic and doesn't really help you. It's like you haven't tried turning it off and on again. It's never going to tell you to open the thing up and find a spare online and go and replace it. I've done a bit of that, but not with an instruction manual. My success stories are mainly tumble dryers, which I've always managed to get a couple more years out of. Just recently,
Nice.
a bearing went on a drum, and I replaced that. And the one prior to that, I replaced a capacitor in it, like a massive chunky capacitor. I was quite pleased with myself. I think this is a good middle-age trophy. So I'm pleased with that. But you will never get that out of an instruction manual. I said it to my kids tonight. What do you think about instruction manuals? Have you ever seen one? And Rex didn't know what an instruction manual was, but Leo just showed me his Lego instruction manual. He's like, obviously I use instruction manuals. So, we're all thinking of them like a DVD player instruction manual or something like that. But actually they are used to paper instruction manuals for that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty handy with things like this. I mean, I've bored you guys with my 1980s speaker refurbishment that I'm doing at the moment, and so I tend not to screw these things up. But the one I did screw up, because that was part of the sort of sub question, was it what's the biggest thing you have screwed up or broken? I had a Golf. A 1.6 Golf for my first car, and I wanted so badly for it to look like a GTI. So I bought a Mark II big bumper kit for the Golf, but I didn't know how to change the brackets. So, so the bumper would fit on perfectly. It looked great, and then one drive later, and the corners are hanging off the bumper, which is obviously looks terrible. So I tried to zip tie them on. That didn't work, and it's basically because I just didn't have the confidence to do it properly. But I've since realized if you do have the confidence and you go through it, you might have to drill a hole in some metal to do it, but actually it'll be fine. No one's going to have a real bad problem with it. Everything's going to be fine in the end. So I'm pretty confident with this stuff. I don't need an instruction manual. I do definitely need YouTube, but I don't need someone telling me, if I'm looking up how to fit a new cooler to my PC or something, and the video starts with, first, let's look at what a PC is. You're like, fuck off. Just stop with this nonsense. But YouTube's getting a bit better at that, isn't it? It sort of links you to the right spot in the video where you can just see the bit that you're interested in. I bet at YouTube HQ they realize what's going on there. So yeah, instruction manuals can fall into the pits of history for me. YouTube is the king, and also more recently, ChatGPT will tell you how to do stuff really succinctly and nicely. So yeah, it's pretty good. Dennis, what do you reckon?
So on the just very briefly on the YouTube thing, for ages there's been the principle called Cunningham's Law, which is the first third of every YouTube video is a load of guff. So just jump straight 1/3 in, and you probably missed out nothing you'll miss. So give that a go. But like you say, YouTube's now auto chapter, so you've got that. You touched on Lego, Hunty. I feel the same way. Like I've grown up with my two influences for building things are my dad, who would just go at it like a bull in a china shop, knowing he's got no patience for any of it and not really a natural aptitude for this kind of stuff, and would horse at it anyway and get angry and break it, and it'd be a mess. And my granddad on my mum's side, who was meticulous, very handy with all the stuff, would read the manual, go through it, build it nicely. So I very much learned the principle from my granddad and what not to do from my dad. You said about Lego, Hunty. I feel like Lego, and then to a later in life, IKEA gave you an instruction manual that really sort of taught you the sense that if you follow this to the letter, you should succeed, which I thought was good for the concept of instruction manuals. Sure, nowadays, if like you say for dishwashers or whatever, if you're trying to do something complex where there's a feel to it, or you need to look inside something that doesn't convey to an instruction manual well, fine, that's a YouTube thing. But I would say basic setup stuff where everyone's got to do the same thing, get something out of a box, build it the same way. I still think instruction manual gets you through if you trust it and you're patient enough to follow the steps and you sort of have a basic sense of DIY. But also, in defense of instruction manuals, they contain a thorough overview of all the features that if you just chuck it into your graveyard of manuals, you'll I know this from Meg, we'll buy something, plug it in, and the basics will work fine. But there's probably loads of bits and pieces like how to set the tray at a different height if you've got a weird size thing for your dishwasher, or change the door hinge side if your tumble dryer opens into the back door and you're just like, well, this sucks. I'm going to live with this for the next 25 years. Or it's a 2-minute job. If you look in the manual, you'll see this here. There's often loads of little Easter eggs in there. You're like, oh, this is nice. I paid for this feature. It connects to my Wi-Fi. It can turn on when I'm out of the house, whatever it might be, right? Loads of those little Easter eggs are in there. But if you just dump that straight away, you're gone. One thing that I thought about the YouTube thing, though, is I suspect that it's been a great emboldener to folks who would otherwise be like, well, no one's ever marketed DIY-ness to me. If I'm outside the sort of straight white male demographic, Wix and B&Q and Home Depot aren't like, oh, come on in, small woman, and learn to build a massive freaking tool shed or something. But you see on YouTube, this is becoming people's lives, and they're finding, even though I'm not the target person to do this, I love it, and they're off to the races. So I think it's been a bit of a democratizer in that sense. The one I would say almost downside to YouTube and this is kind of a question to folks and Hunty especially, because I'm in a bit of the same boat as you here, is has YouTube over emboldened us to the extent that we're trying to fix something, to touch on your point, Dutz, that we try and fix stuff where it's got really low residual value. The cost of our time to fix it is huge. And out at the end, you get something you could have just bought cheaply. So Hunty, for example, as a passion project, bought some speakers, some old speakers that are good quality, but were completely in the shit. And you replaced a bunch of stuff on the cones and other bits and pieces. And it sounds like you got it humming like a songbird. So well done, mate. I did the same thing with my cheap eBay speakers. And there was a real extent to which I should have just gone hasta la binsta and just bought another set rather than sending off to Florida for another set of glue and like paper shit because I screwed up the first one. It cost me so much time, and I probably could have got a better set for $100 off eBay. So there's a bit there where I think it can lead you down the garden path.
I'm with you on that, mate. And look, the difference is with those speakers, I liken it to owning a Ford Mustang from '69. You know, this is not about getting the best sound for my money. It's about having just something old and cool. That's all. Dan, what do you reckon?
What a fantastic question. First of all, this had me in stitches when I read it, because I have a nemesis of a thing, which I am, like many of you, well heeled in trying to fix things. Don't want to pay for things that I think I can fix myself. I don't perhaps value my own time as much as I probably should, so we'll be prepared to spend 10 hours doing something when I could have probably spent £50 for someone else to do it. But I've got to talk about the folding tent. And it is my fucking nemesis. And I even shared this question with Charlie couple of days ago, and she had the exact same answer of the folding tent. So the folding tent cannot be solved. This is an amazing thing. So Decathlon popularized this thing. I don't know, sold like 10 million of these things. We've all probably had a go on them. Brilliant. You buy it, had a few beers, you find it, you rock up to your festival, you unzip it, pop, fantastic. You stand it for a couple of nights. Try and put that back in that bag. There isn't an instruction or a YouTube video that you can follow that I think that you can actually do it. And it kills me. I thought that part of my life was done. Had some children. And my parents or someone thought it was a great idea to buy them a pop-up castle or a pop-up fucking fort. Those things are in 20 pieces under a bed up here because I can't put them back. I fucking hate them. But the point here is like, I don't think there is an instruction manual that helps you do that. I've looked at YouTube videos. I've slowed it down frame by frame, grab the corners, bend the top in. Can't do it. And I thought that was really quite funny. But in answer to the bigger question, I just think the scope's changed. I think we've got such a great access to tools now, content tools, people, that what we thought we would trial and error and fix before 10, 15 years ago. John, you talk about it, like fixing a dishwasher capacitor or something like that. Like the ability to change and fix stuff is huge. And I also think there's a popular following now, like with repair shop mentality. I do think it's really quite important. The children, I haven't got that yet for sure. So I think we're all aligned on that. And yeah, what they would break can just be glued together or re-screwed or whatever it may be. And even Charlie would be like, I haven't got time for that. Just throw it in the bin. It's like, no, just fix it. Just put a screw in it. And so I think there is this thrifty nature that we perhaps grow into as we get a bit older. And it's perhaps not just because it costs less or we save money, but the challenge is quite nice. And I think we probably all lack a little bit of that challenge in society. Sean, you talked about it, this throwaway culture, fast fashion, fast plastics. It doesn't matter. We'll just go to Amazon and buy a replacement for £20, 20 pence, whatever it may be. We're going skiing this weekend, which I'm very excited for. The zip fell off one of the kids' jackets. Charlie immediately bought a whole new jacket. I was like, what are you doing? That's just ridiculous. I could have done with your sewing machines from it, because I was stumbled at this bit. So I bought a new zip bit, but did require some fettling in the sewing department. So I did struggle through. But I think it was a great question. And I think I take away a little bit of feedback to myself. Like, my kids need to understand the value of like fixing stuff, right? It shouldn't just go in the bin. It's ridiculous. But yeah, folding tent had me in bits with Charlie talking about those moments.
Amazing. I mean, I think the most important thing here is actually that somebody's been nice to us and said, "Nice question." Well done, Dan. That's the first time that's ever happened on the five episodes in.
Down those up.
Brown nosing noted. Um,
John
some,
paid me.
some interesting thoughts here. One, the idea of dadders. For those who are not aware, dadders is Simon's dad. I love the idea of him wrestling with IKEA furniture. So just well, not just specifically IKEA. I feel like that other things he could make his way through and he'd get there, but just no words, slightly badly drawn pictures. I can instantly see the level of rage.
The specific example was actually worse. It was, that big, I give it to you actually, Dance, I think, the big red child's car, like the big
the tiny tyke. He did a fucking terrible job of putting that together.
Yeah. To build it, most of it you just clip it straight in, so it's completely infallible. And then there's 4 wheels that you have to put in that are on their own little axles. And he didn't look at it, put them in the wrong way so they don't turn, because he put the back one in the front. That was the one decision he had to make, and he put them in the wrong way around.
It's worse than that. When we got it, there were literally 6-inch screws in it. But we're like, who's put 6-inch screws in a tiny tyke car? So the wheels were on the wrong way, plus he just drilled the top in because, I don't know, he obviously couldn't fit it in, so he just drilled it in.
There you go, Sam. Worse than you could have imagined.
Worse than I could have imagined. I think there's 2 different things here, aren't there? So there's instructions and fixing things, I would say. As a family, we were talking about this. We just had dinner together. We all sat down. We are an instructions family, right? Nobody ever will attempt to tackle anything without reading the instructions because we know we can't fix anything. So we've got to get it right first time. And then when something does, so great example being this chair. First up, Secret Lab, if you're listening to this, the greatest set of instructions I've ever seen. Incredible instructions. Particularly, the highlight of the instructions was it said on the box, this requires 2 people. And of course, you ignore that. You think, I can do this with 1 person. There's a specific bit in the instructions where it says, well done, you've got to this point, but this is as far as you can go on your own. You definitively need a second person to finish this off. Let us explain why. And then has a YouTube video and a really good diagram of why you can't do it on your own. And it's the first time I've ever gone, yeah, fair. Actually, I will go and get someone. Go and get Lindsay and get Dan actually at the end. So we're very good at doing that. But fixing things, I think we are much more in your camp, Dan, and with Charlie, just going, do you know what? It's not worth our time. We don't have the skills. We don't have the abilities. So we'll ignore it. I think the thing that scares me a lot with fixing things has really come from around the house and trying to do DIY. As you will know from the property group that we have, I am the least capable of our group, perhaps by some margin. And the thing that terrifies me, weirdly, I'm not so bothered about electricity, which genuinely obviously can kill me, but plumbing, anything to do with water, I'll be on YouTube for hours, even to change the pressure, on the boiler or bleed the radiators. Even though I know how to do it now, no, double check. 100% don't got to double check every time. So I think it's been an interesting experience with instructions. The only example I could think of where the kids are really bad with them is Lego. I'm sure we've all had the same experience where they lose a piece that is so fundamentally crucial to the build. It is you're unable to progress, and there is nothing. And if my children were here now, they would know there is nothing that irritates me more than when they do that, when they lose a piece, particularly if we're away somewhere and they say, yeah, we'll build it here in pieces and then we'll take it home. I'm like, no, we won't. We will build it at home and then it will go in a lockbox somewhere so it can never be destroyed again. Because the amount of times we have broken bits of Lego they have assembled abroad certainly makes me lose track. Deaders, what are you about to say?
Yeah, 2 things. One, Dan, about the tent bag. One of the best things I've spent my money on, because as you guys know, anyone who's got a tent, they pack them in a bag that is some kind of almost quantum vessel that as soon as the tent's out of it, it's never going back. I bought, after being enraged by this many, many times, I bought one on Amazon that was just a bit bigger. And and it arrives, you put it in, you're like, Jesus, why didn't I do this like 5 years ago? $5, in it goes. You finish your camping trip, yoink, in the car, off you go. And you're like, this used to be 10, 15 minutes of rage. And that, like, £5, I highly recommend it. Of all the things you can spend money on in terms of value for money, for like rage versus cash, brilliant. I wish I'd done it years ago. One thing I've got a question for you boys along these lines is valuing our time doing things. Dan, you were talking about that. Like, I'm pretty handy. I like the challenge of taking this stuff on. But it's become a bit of a bone of contention in our house because I will default to trying to just do everything myself. And Meg's like, well, you're just burning through all your personal time and you're constantly just doing chores when you should be having fun. And I've said, okay, yeah, fair point. I'll try and get better at delegating. And this might just be bad luck. So this is why I'm really interested in folks' opinions here. Anytime I've tried to delegate stuff out and say, hey, can I have a handyman come in and do this? We had our windows replaced. Obviously, I'm not going to do the windows myself, but I was hoping to be able to just go, here's a sack of cash, come in. You guys have worked in windows your whole lives. Tell me what I need. Tell me how you can replace this and that and the other. And I've found so often, especially for big projects, I still end up paying and being the project manager and making all the tough decisions because I'm dealing with people who I'm giving money for them to be dumbasses and like not be able to think on their feet, which is so frustrating. And to the extent that I'm like, now, and maybe this is a function of living in Silicon Valley where everything's so freaking expensive, but I can't get folks to come out and do small, medium jobs that I'll be like, I could probably do that, but I'd love to just pay for someone to do it for any kind of reasonable price. People want to do a multi-week job for hundreds of thousands of dollars. They don't want to turn up and take a couple of hundred nicker to fix something around the house that I could do, but just don't want to spend time doing it. Have you guys successfully hired handymen to do simple jobs that you could probably do, but just don't want to?
Duts.
Yeah. So on the handyman thing, so I did this way up of cost, right? So what is my time worth versus someone else's time? And on the whole, it works out that a handyman is cheaper than my time. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's fine. I
But you've done that and
I
you've been
don't
happy
find
with
that if you set out what they need to do, I think on the whole, I find it okay that they just go ahead and do what they want, and I don't need to personally manage them.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, that's. But two other quick points. One, Dan, hold, twist, fold, rotate. That's all you need to do, and it's in the bag.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
And Sam, on your Lego point, so I used to be a little bit like this. So we buy our kids like quite expensive Lego sets, and then we'll do them on holiday and stuff. And I used to be so like, you built it, and therefore now it's built. We need to put it in like a precious little thing. And I've gone away from that because I'm like, actually, do you know what? It might have cost £100, and that is why I'm being so weird about it. But actually, it's yours. So if you want to fuck it up, if you want to lose some pieces, that's your thing to do with it. So I've become a lot more lenient on Lego now, and I don't mind if they build something and lose pieces, because ultimately you can ask Lego for the bits that you're missing.
You have perfect Lego pieces behind your head, though, so that's a little bit like really
on a very high shelf.
Yeah, but Ellie made that, I made that, and the kids did make that one, but all the other ones are in their room, which we covered last week.
Ish. All right.
Adie, have you got any Lego?
I'm a massive Lego fan, and I've got two boys, so we've always pushed Lego sort of their way. I think when Sam, you made a point that made me think. When my kids lose a piece, I try and encourage them to kind of fix it by getting a replacement piece, or can you rework it? And it goes back a little bit to that point of, well, our kids are they being spoon-fed, or have they lost that creativity? I think you discussed that in the first episode. So I used to say to them, look, can you find a piece that's similar? And yeah, sometimes it would work, and sometimes they would just like throw it off the desk in a tantrum. It's a bit of a mixed bag. So I've always tried to do that because, my God, we've lost so many Lego pieces. One day we'll move out of this house and they'll be under every single piece of furniture. To your point, Edders, your question back to us about, well, do you have a go yourself or do you use a handyman? I think I made it quite clear. I can't wire a plug, right? My dad was a builder, right? You'd think that his son would have a vague idea what to do. He told me it's a shitty life and try and use your brain and achieve something better. As a result, I never went in his tool shed. I haven't got any tools of my own, and I'm reliant entirely on tradespeople who I've learned are just masters doing a big intake of breath, and then saying, that looks expensive. So my I don't try and fix anything. My game is to try and minimize the financial cost. I wish I could. I'm impressed with all of you, especially Summit with your sewing machine. I wish I was more handy.
Dan, what do you think?
I was just reflecting, sorry, during your little speech there. How do the manufacturers work out how many people it needs to do the task in the instruction thing, and how many hours it takes, plus the age of Lego? So the Lego thing, most of my arguments around instructions come that we've overaged the Lego because we think the age group for like Seth is too young. We open the box, he cracks on with it, he reads some instructions. Oh no, page 77B, pack 17. He's a bit flummoxed. He's lost his shit. It's all over the kitchen table, and that set is ruined because we've not bought the right age group. Now, there's been some examples where we have bought the right age group, and it's been so easy. He's not been challenged. So I'm curious, like, how do they get it right or wrong, or why? I think that's quite important, right? Like, especially things like Lego that you're buying into. I think it can really appease the experience, or it can really fuck it up. And how many times have we built stuff and it says this requires 12 men, 14 elves, and 6 ladies to build this, and you're like, fuck that, I'm gonna do that on my own. And of course it fails. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to be the guy that's like, oh, what's the generic person number and hours to do this task? I don't know, work it out.
Can you find out? Because that's interesting.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Didn't our good friend Max van Sommeren, do this and work out a very precise cost per hour, which he then used to assess different jobs? I recall that. We'll have to get him on.
Yeah, he did, but
find out.
it's rubbish though, isn't it? Because your time in the evenings is not worth the same as your time at work. You can't apply your professional rate to something in the evening unless you're willing to work all the time, every day. So if I'm fixing a washing machine, I'm not going to charge myself the same amount as I would charge a client. You know what I mean? It's not the same comparison.
I disagree. So I've worked off it. I've worked off what Max said. I literally work off that. So I know what my hourly rate is, and if I probably discount it by like 30%. But if it's cheaper for me to get someone in to do it in half the time, 100% do that. And I agree with Max's logic.
Well, tell you what, Max isn't here to defend himself, so we will get him on, and we'll have a specific question about explaining. Hopefully he's got the same level of charting as Deaders does, but I think it's probably time to move on. John, do you want to pick up on the next section?
I sure do. This is I think quite a poignant one because of something that someone quite famous said very recently. So the question is, are we the last generation to use cash money? We grew up counting coins, splitting notes, and feeling the pain of handing over physical cash. Now it's tap, swipe, Face ID, money without friction, weight, or memory. You get the point of it. It's very, very easy to just spend money without even thinking about it. Sometimes on your watch, even, you can just spend money and it's gone. So I was thinking, maybe our kids just won't ever see cash again. My kids have used a bit of cash when they were younger in a sort of piggy bank type scenario. But I can't imagine them ever having a note in a wallet, really. I mean, unless there's some illicit drug deals that I don't know about, but I'm expecting that not to be the case just yet. But the reason I thought it was interesting is because Elon Musk recently has come out and said, with the advance of AI and this potential life of abundance in 10, 20, 50, 100 years' time, maybe we don't need money at all, let alone cash money or swipey or tappy money. So I thought it was a really interesting question. I'll give you some stats to start with. In 2008, which doesn't feel that long ago to me, cash accounted for 60% of transactions. And in 2023, it was down to 12 to 14% of transactions. I'm actually a little bit surprised it's even that. I suppose people are paying for sort of basic services and maybe, buying a bit of street food or something like that, maybe. But it seems like it's very much on the way out, and that our kids' generation will never, ever even really think about paper and coins. So, Adie, what do you think? You ever going to see cash again?
I think we're definitely the last generation, right? I saw the same statistics as you. The use of cash has declined. I did see that 2% of adults still rely entirely on cash. I'm guessing this is a little subsection of society that can't get bank accounts or work in a cash in hand trade. I daren't speculate. But it used to be pubs, restaurant taxes. That was kind of where you'd spend your cash. But even now, they've all got, to your point, John, contactless options, iZettle this, Apple Pay that. But you'd be amazed how much cash still trades hands within the trades. Every time we've been doing up our house over the last 3 years, there's always somebody who says, "Yeah, that'll be £1,000 or 700 quid for cash." And then I'm thinking, well, what do they do with it? How do they then move that cash on? Because there's nowhere to spend it. And I know one of these guys quite well, and all the cash ends up in the bookies. Not food on the table, not petrol in the car. That's his play money. And he just goes off to whoever it is, William Hill, and it's 50 quid on the horses. And I'm thinking, you fucking lunatic. Just pay the tax. You'll have more money in the bank at the end of it. So I was thinking about this. When was the last time I used cash? My kids still get cash for Christmas and birthday. They still get an envelope with 20 or 30 quid in it. And a little while ago, I should have bought this as evidence. I went through their drawers and wallets and said, look, you've got all these little cash Christmas presents. Give it to me and I'll put the money back in your Go Henry account and so forth. 800 quid of cash. The two of them had sort of accumulated over a couple of years of birthdays and Christmases. But they had no real sense of value because this is just sort of paper. So I took that cash and I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get rid of it? Pubs and restaurants don't need it anymore. It used to be taxis, but now we've got Uber, so that's not anymore. So I think the only times I spend cash is birthday and Christmas presents back to other kids. And this is sort of circular economy of cash money. And this makes me sound like an absolute wanker. Paying, the only time I actually really need cash is when I go and play golf at a certain golf course. We pay the caddies in cash. That's the only way we can pay them. And then they tell me they go and piss it up at the end of the night in the local bars. And that's their life, which is quite sad when you think about it. But that's it. Cards, gifts for other kids, and golf caddies. That's it. That's the end of it. End of cash.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean,
Bookies.
actually, for me, I'm exactly the same thinking about it. I'm saying my kids don't really use cash anymore, but we also have the cash in the birthday cards and Christmas cards, and because there is something really nicely tangible about it, isn't there? It's like they actually receive something, or at least that's how we feel. I have a feeling they think it's just deeply inconvenient. And actually what they really want to do is just hand it over their shoulder to mum, and mum will put it on their Rooster account, and then they'll have a bigger number in their app. I don't know if they have the same attachment to the sort of, physical value of something, physical rather than just a number on their account. But I tell you what, they definitely don't understand the value of money until it gets to zero. And then that's when the rubber hits the road, isn't it? And that's when they sort of think, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have bought those extra pair of trainers or whatever. Yeah, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I've just started with Bella. She's just started to realize what cash is. So babysitting, looking after a couple of kids for a couple of hours on a Friday night with friends, neighbors, whatever it may be. She's inevitably getting paid in cash. And for the first time, probably the last 6 months, she's starting to do it. She's 14. She's done her first aid course. So she thinks she's a good earner now. Yeah. But she'll happily get 30, 40 quid on a Friday night. And she's like, what is this? Like, what am I going to do with it? Because she's got like her Go Henry or a Revolut account. She'll get her allowance into that. And she's got these wads of cash being built up in her drawer. And she's just like, so can I, like, when we go on holiday, can I use this? It's like, oh, so I can get like the notes that we go on holiday with. And I think the children right now get like money from their grandparents when we go on holiday to like for ice creams and things. They'll get some cash, they'll get some euros. And they're like, when we go on holiday, we get cash. But where we live, we get everything on, tap and go, Apple Pay, whatever it may be. So she started to understand that this cash is a thing. And I'm like, well, it's not that useful because she can't spend it. She cannot get rid of it. She wants to buy clothes off of Shein.
Nobody knows.
It's however it's pronounced. It's bad.
One of the internet's
it's
mysteries.
bad, right? But she's a 14-year-old kid. She's earning some money. She wants to spend it. And actually, she's got a pot of money saved up for a car already, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, she's starting to deal with it. But the inevitable things like that parent who's had to get the cash. I mean, where they get it from? Like the faff of having to go to a cash point to get cash out for the babysitter to pay Bella, just pay us. And there's this thing of the intrinsic value of getting someone to say thank you. And I think a lot of the parents, a bit like the birthday thing, right? Gift card chat, Sam Ellis, I know this is going to trigger you. Gift cards is like the cop out, right? I think cash is one better. It's like, I've made the effort to get this cash. I'm going to give it to you because thank you. Happy birthday, happy Christmas, happy Easter, happy whatever. Feels like a little bit more intentional than a gift card, maybe. I don't know. But I think as a parent that's saying thank you to a 14-year-old for looking after their kids, they don't just want to like electronically transfer it to, they want to be like, here's £20. Like, thank you so much. Like, it's a bit of a celebration moment, right? It's quite tangible. It's quite nice. But the cash thing is interesting. I did a piece of work in Sweden years ago, and that was, I think, one of the first maybe European countries to become cashless. And I was like, that's just ridiculous. Couldn't believe it. And I think around 3 to 5% of transactions were done in cash then, and no problem at all. Conversely, doing a lot of work in the Middle East, man, it's all about cash. It's all about cash. It's all about bringing in the US dollar in massive denominations of notes and buying things like in cash. And all of the luxury brands just take loads and loads of cash. And it's just crazy the amount of infrastructure that still has to exist to accommodate it. And like, we're all about convenience, right? We want things quicker, faster. We don't have to worry about things. But there is a risk, right? I think the risk is we frivolously just keep spending because there's a really difficult way of when it's run out, we know like we've run out of money. But when you used to have cash, it's like, oh, I've got £17 left for the month, and I can budget it. I think it's difficult for the mentality of that to continue, and the children have to work out how to do it. So yeah, different mindset required.
So I think one of the questions later on is like when we last paid for something in cash, and quite amusingly, the last time I paid someone in cash was a babysitter. So we've got a 13-year-old who lives down the road, and that is literally, I think, the only time that Ellie and I ever get cash out is to pay her. And it's because she has the most complex. I know about the cards that my kids have, but I don't know about the card she has. But she was like, oh, in order to do it, you need to pay my parents, and then they need to transfer it, but they have to do this long-winded thing. And she made it sound really annoying. So we were like, we'll just give you cash. But I think she's okay with it. But I think with my kids, because they're a little bit younger, so almost 7 and 8, I think they do understand the value of cash at the moment. And they also still teach it at school. So when they're teaching about money, they go through, teaching numbers, they use cash as part of that. So they know what 1p, 2p, 5p, 10p, 20p, etc. is, and they learn that at school. When they used to get just cash, so Ellie's mum's partner loves to give them money in cash every time we see them, and they spend it immediately. Particularly Cleo. Cleo will literally be on the motorway on the way home. We'll pop into a petrol station. She'll have a £10 note and try and figure out what she can buy for £10 in that petrol station. It's absolutely nuts. But now we've moved them over to another card, which is called Hotjar. So they have physical cards. They have accounts on their iPads where they can see how much money is in it. And now they've suddenly they've moved over this point where they're aware of how much cash they have, how much money they have, and will walk into a shop and they'll really think about what they want to buy. And Cleo now has started going into shops and being like, do you know what? I'm going to go home and think about it. Whereas when she had physical money, she'd just be like, no, I'm buying that. I'm buying that. What can I get for this £10? But now it's like, you have £21 in your account. If you buy that, that's all of it gone. And she'll be like, no, I'll go home. I'll have a think. And I might buy it. I might not. And I think in a weird way, having a physical number that she can see going down or up is actually changing her for the better.
That's cool.
No, that makes sense. I mean, look, there's definitely still scenarios for cash where cash is king. Who's got in a cab in a foreign country recently and not been scammed when they tried to pay on a card? So now, absolutely, all foreign taxis are paid in cash, absolutely non-negotiable before I get in them. Don't even use it. I try to avoid using Uber, depending on where we are. Obviously, the lockers at Butlins. I don't know if you've ever been to Butlins, but there's a large number of lockers for things, and they only take pound coins. So in my car, I've now got a large number of pound coins ready for any locker situation, and they don't give them back. So they certainly have worked that one out. Adie, you were talking about tradesmen. I don't know if you've noticed this, but certainly around here, tradesmen have, I would argue, significantly increased their request for cash. So, and through a variety of reasons, but as far as I can see, it's generally tax related. They're very unhappy with the amount of tax they're spending and what they're getting for that tax, and therefore they are very clear that they would like to be paid in cash. And I've had a number of conversations over the last 2 weeks, which have all started with, "I'm not coming round. I don't even want to talk to you unless this is a cash opportunity. I just won't do it," which I think is really, really, really interesting. But what I would say is, Dan and John, look, you guys, you're out in the sticks. You know what the kids are using cash for? Bad things. They want cash. What your world's about to change, right? Obviously, I'm not quite as far into London as Duts is, okay? But all the kids around here want cash to go out and buy vapes out the back of boots from cars that they found on WhatsApp, or buy laughing gas, or go out and buy terrible snacks. So they're not tracked on their Go Henry cards, okay? Cash has become king amongst sort of my eldest son's group of friends, and they're nabbing it from any source that they can get. So I think maybe cash has got a bit more time to go, because they've worked it out, right? They don't want to see, like you say, they spend on their Go Henry card, Adie. It pops up and you go, wait, where are you? Why are you buying that? What are you doing with that? Right? They love cash now. So are they the last generation to ever use cash? As far as I can work out, no way. It's gonna survive and thrive for a bit longer, if anything, just to keep the black economy going. What do you think, Dad? Is Bella there yet?
County lines, what I mean by that is barbers, right? Barbers love taking cash. So that's my interpretation of what you were talking about. Yeah, Seth loves to scrounge cash because he wants his haircut every 2 weeks. And they will only take cash, which is, for whatever reason, they must have a very busy washing machine. That's what I can say. But do you reckon, I agree with you, Sam. I think cash will continue to be relevant. But I think that the Royal Mint will be under increasing pressure to rethink the denominations of cash. I think 1p's, 2p's, 5p's, 10p's, irrelevant. Why do we I think there needs to be a fundamental change in what the pricing structure of things may be. If it's cash, maybe there's a different one. I'm not sure what you've done with the sound, but that is now much better.
Whoever turned that.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. It sounded like I was in urinal in Twickenham on match day. I think it's got to change. But I think how great cash could be really good, quite relevant, really easy to use, useful for moments like babysitting or anything else. But we just need to look at the denominations and just get a bit more succinct with it, and that'll be fine. Anyway, that's what I'll finish with.
Well, mate, let me just cut in, because I think there is, talking about the black economy. You're right. I'd completely forgotten about this. But my kids, one of my kids, I won't tell you which one, and then there's some deniability. But in school has set up a shop called The Locker. And at The Locker, you can buy various contraband like sweets and drinks, and even products made on this 3D printer here. And sometimes they do like a Happy Meal where you get something on the 3D printer and you get a drink and you get a snack. And they've been busted a couple of times. And so the first one was called The Locker. Then it was closed down because of a misunderstanding with a teacher. And then The Locker 2.0 rose from the ashes like a phoenix from the flames. And they could never do that without cash, could they? They couldn't do it. They wouldn't be, well, maybe in the future there's a way to just sort of cash out people cash around, but their phones are all locked away in these Yonder pouches. They're not allowed to use their phones. So the only way that my boy can learn real commerce is not from the geography teacher. It's from running the locker in the school and selling these things.
No,
So I think cash
absolutely
does have a place
love it.
in society, and I love it.
I love it. I love it. This is great.
Yeah,
Which one is
interesting.
it?
I'm not telling you which one it was.
Because it strikes me that most of us, well, I don't want to put words in people's mouth. I presume most people hate cash themselves for general day to day, right? It's big, it's heavy, it's dirty, it's shitty. You've then got a bunch of shrapnel you got to deal with if you're trying to like combine it as a completer finisher to get it out of your wallet. That's then annoying. It's another task. If you're at the bar, you're taking up more time than, you're wasting the time of the barman and the people behind you. You're annoying, blah, blah, blah. Like the point is taken though about the black market economy, but do we think that as a function of most of the rest of the society going, well, I don't care if I'm not being, if this is traceable, everything I do is above the line, that we'll just be losing cash like we already are. I think, Dan, you're on point. Like we've got to get rid of the tiny shrapnel in the first place that's doing nothing. But like as cash goes away in general, will the black economy just move to crypto? But then, like you say, Hunty, like that's got to go through phones pretty much, unless you do paper wallets, which is even more of a drag. Like does this just make it harder and harder for for anyone to do black economy stuff? Maybe it does.
All right. So look, I started the question by saying, obviously the question was about cash money, but there was another element to the question, which was maybe in 20 years' time, we won't need money at all. But we probably better park that for another episode because I think it's quite a deep subject when you go into it. So let's move on to the car section anyway. Sam's got a good question for us this week.
So moving on to cars, we're going to change things up a little bit. Okay. This time round. So we are now going to do a scenario. Okay, everyone's been given this in advance. So they've had time to prepare. Some people clearly too much time to prepare because it's not clear they've done any other work this week other than think about this scenario. Okay, so the scenario is, and thank you, Gemini, for coming up with this incredible image. You're heading back to your school reunion after 26 years. And not a joke, this is the image it came up with. You haven't seen most of these people since you left school in 2000. You don't need to impress them, but you do want the car to quietly explain who you are now without saying a word. Your budget is £25,000. What do you turn up in?
I mean, they're so hideously disfigured that would be most of the conversation, wouldn't it? What happened to your hideously disfigured face?
I mean, it's also confusing to me because I went to an all-boys school, but, carry on.
Yeah, it was certainly interesting. I asked it for a Where's Wally style image, which sort of has got, hasn't it? I mean,
It works.
Don't look at it too closely, though, because there's some horror shows in there, I think would be my summary. Okay, now, I don't know whose car choice this is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the next one, and you've got to jump in and get started. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
That's got to be
okay.
yours then.
Yeah, so this was quite a fun game, wasn't it? Spending money that isn't really real. So I was always quite quiet at school. I wasn't particularly sporty. I wasn't one of the clever kids. Definitely wasn't a cool kid. I was sort of a bit nondescript, a bit lost. Anyway, I went off and I've spent most of the last 15 years in kind of renewable and clean tech and it's kind of the electric vehicle business. So I thought, to your point, Sam, you put the question forward. You don't need to impress. You don't need to show off. You just need to kind of let them know a little bit about you. So I thought, okay, I've done all right. Let me look for a premium electric car. That's a nod to kind of the industry and the work I've been doing. And I was gobsmacked at the quality of electric car you can get for £25,000. And in front of you is a Jaguar I-Pace. It's a 2023 model. It's got 40,000 miles on the clock and it's an HSE spec. This would have retailed at about 80 grand. And it was 22,000, I think. Just enough money left over for a warranty. Unbelievable, isn't it? an absolute plush wagon, an executive toy. And if you've driven an I-Pace, and I have, because I've worked in the industry, I got to drive loads of electric vehicles. It's a really super car. And I thought, well, this would just tell them enough about me without being a little bit too showy. So 22,000 will get you one of these. There were over 600 I-Paces that are under £25,000, which is
That
cheaper
is
than a brand
extraordinary.
new, shitbox 1 Series.
What I love about that, Adie, is it's
Cool,
so
isn't it?
understated, isn't it? It's such a classy machine, but it's so understated, and you don't need to show off, but people would maybe look at that and go, ah, classy guy.
Yeah.
You've ruined the game.
And
You've ruined
it
it.
fits the brief. The budget's on.
No, it doesn't. You've
Gone?
won. No. I disagree. You can't just win on the first go. None of us have had a go yet. This is obviously the right answer, isn't it?
Well,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure
and
it's what.
here's the problem, Sam. I may be 44. I'm just a bit too old for a Jag. And we all know you drive
Hey!
a Jag, and it's been the bane of
Sam
your
and I
life
both drive
and
Jags.
your pride and joy. And I
Careful.
grew up with Jags. My dad was a Jag man. But put all that aside, because if you go on to the next slide, please. If you're going to go back and see people you haven't seen for 25 years, just turn up as James Bond. I was absolutely chuffed to bits to find this 40,000 mile DB7 5.9 litre V12 Vantage from the year 2000. Nice touch. The year I left school. 21,995, which gave me £3,000 for an Aston Martin aftermarket warranty. And I thought, well, that's perfect. I'll turn up in my tuxedo to tell them I've made it, in my Aston Martin, and I will park out the front in the "Do Not Park Here" sign, and let every little fucker who doubted me know that, yeah, I did all right. Is that too
Love
arrogant?
it. No,
How's
love
he
it.
allowed to
No.
take pictures?
But it's amazing what you can get for your money now. So that's my choice.
Adie,
Very
talk us
nice.
through the interior.
Well, yes. I mean, it's a bit old manish, isn't it? I think I fell in love with the. I've got a big thing at the moment for green over tan cars. I think they're really cool. There's a fantastic Instagram page for green over tan, and my next car will definitely be green over tan. But alas, I couldn't find green over tan, so I went with green over beige. So you just have to accept that there just aren't that many
Yeah.
to choose from.
It's not quite got the
It's
same
old
ring
man
to it,
spec,
does
isn't it?
it?
It looks like the inside of a Jag that
Yeah.
I just mocked.
I'm actually
Looks
quite.
like-
Thanks, beautiful. The thing look, I'm with you. Look, you and I fundamentally agree. Green over tan is brilliant. Green over cream, slightly less sure. I'm very intrigued by the mismatched seats, though. That was the thing that got me. Cream and green seats, if you actually look. And I'm not sure the wood works. If I'm being really fussy, I could live with the colour of the seats, but it's the rest of the wood is jarring. It's jarring. However, it's 20. Do you say 21? 22?
I
There's,
think it was 21,995. So you don't have to buy a warranty. You could go and get the seats retrimmed.
Okay. These are good choices, Adie. Whoever's up
Yeah.
next is going to have to do well. Dutz, I feel like you wanted to pass comment on the Aston Martin.
No, I didn't. I just said, yeah, I'm all on board with both of Adie's choices. They're great choices. Love it.
What a brilliant start to the segment, John.
Well, I like it. I like it immensely. Obviously, I mean, I'd choose this over the Jag I-Pace any day of the week, and I like the fact that you've got a little bit left over for warranty, which will stop you having to walk home when it doesn't start. I mean, it's wonderful. I had a two-tone leather interior to a Range Rover once. At the time, I thought it was quite cool, but looking back on it, it's not that cool. And this is the problem with these old sort of really nice classic cars, isn't it? Is that interior always makes you feel like it's really old. But this fits the bill perfectly here because you are turning up at a school reunion. People are seeing the outside and thinking, what a beautiful car. They're not seeing the inside. You just got to make sure they steer them away from the inside. That's the move.
Is the handbrake on the driver's side
I
door?
think you'll come around to it. Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe not for £22,000, Simon. But I would say we're all getting a bit older, and I think you'll all come around to a beige interior. I've had a couple, and they're great until you wear blue jeans.
Excellent choice. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We know exactly who this is, don't we?
We all knew.
That's got Eustace written all over it.
Come on.
I have to commend the question again. This was the most distracting thing of my week. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Adie, great job. You cheated with 2. I'm going to talk about my other one because I feel like I can. So before I talk about this little beauty, I had a Mercedes 190 Cosworth in, which was immaculate.
Yeah.
It was 28,000 euros, so it kind of came into budget. Had 160,000 kilometers on it. It was in Ireland, so Sam probably would have stung me for the import duties and be out of budget. But I've always wanted one of them. Not the silly Evo kit, because obviously that's amazing, but well out of budget. Anyway, I thought that was a great car. Very subtle, great engine. Obviously, Cosworth, super. However, I've always wanted one of these personally, but I also think it's a bit me. I just fall in love with these things. I would love one. And I think for me, this is a bit old school, quite quirky. It tells a story that I'm going to have a dog. I've got quite a few kids. I need it. It's rugged. It's vintage. It's really reliable. And kind of puts a smile on people's faces. And I think that's what I'm about. I think that's what I want people to see if I drove it into the car park. I'm quite happy to be humiliated that I drive in and everyone's got their Aston Martins with cream over tan leather with bingo calling eye paces because you're 76 and you've worn your pipe and slippers to Crown Bingo. But I've popped in one of these, and the door will squeak when I open it and the engine will pop, and it'll be really squeaky and loud. But I think it's just the cutest thing, and I think it would be really fun. Of course, I toyed with getting a big, oversized Ford Mondeo with a dress on, like Adie's Aston Martin. But I think this is a bit more original, and so I'm liking this a lot more. But it was hard. I wish I could have had the foresight, like you, to have had a couple of options. I thought it was an amazing thing, and there's a couple of things, right? I think Sam, what I loved about the question, and John, is, do you know what? Perhaps we don't need to be worrying about saving up for 50 grand Porsches and things like that, right? But how much fun I would have if I could own something like this. And maybe that's something I might go and do, right? Maybe that's cool because it's put a big smile on my face doing this research. But yeah, I think it's happy. It reminds me of when I was a kid, not when I was a kid, when the kids were kids. Do you remember the children's program called Brum? Do you remember Brum? Which was like this. Did you remember Brum?
Yeah,
Everyone
it's great.
remember
I was on mute.
some of
I
this?
remember Brum. Great connection.
Yeah, Brum was like this radio-controlled small car that would go around and like do
yes.
things like with like go and fetch the ball that someone kicked in the lake, and it would it's like an adult, a real version of Thomas the Tank, but with a car. This reminds me of that. So this it was very emotional. Loved it. Loved the question. Loved the research. That is my choice for my 26-year-old reunion from school.
I love it.
Very
Adie, what do
nice.
you think about that?
Nice.
I think it's awesome. I'm also, you can probably tell from the Jaguar and Aston thing, I love British cars. I'm a big fan of Land Rover, and it kind of has like an early Series 1 look about it. But there's a serious question here. Dan, you're like 6'3", maybe? That looks like a Tonka toy. How would
Yeah.
you possibly, practically, that just wouldn't work.
So I said I'd pull into the car park and everyone would laugh at me. I think they'd laugh more with me getting out of it than anything else. I'm sure that's solvable. I have been in one as a passenger, but yeah, I don't even fit in a Land Rover, right? Defender. So yeah, for sure. But if I can make it to the car park of the reunion, which I'm hoping is within a 5-mile radius of where I live, I might be all right. But anything more, I'll be on the back of a low loader and it'll be craned into the car park, I think.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting choice. I suppose when you're arriving, they could direct you round to all of maybe where the rest of the entertainers and the clowns are going. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, you could fit all that stuff in there. I can't stand this car just on principle. I've never liked this Land Cruiser. It looks like a child's version of a Defender. So I wouldn't, if you turned up in that somewhere, I think I'd probably just start laughing, I think. So, but I don't know what your school friends are like, probably nicer than mine, who are reasonably ruthless, I would imagine. So,
Oh, I couldn't give a shit about what they think, but it's what I want. So that's what's going to happen. And that's me, so that's fine.
Sam,
That's
I
you.
think you've been massively harsh there. If somebody turned up in that, you'd be interested. That is an interesting car. That is not something to laugh at, really, is it?
I'm not. I've never been keen on them. I think it's such a leap now to have one. I think, and I think
Well,
that
I
was why
tell
I've,
you,
No.
to
I think
call
that's
it a
why
clown car is a real
I could
harsh.
just sort of hear it like with a horn, like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
You would have to have one of
I
those
think I'm
horns.
with Hunt on this. Like, it's interesting, right? If someone like everyone else is turning up in boring generic cars, right, and someone chips up in that, and you're like, that's interesting.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. And then a little marching band pops out the back. Like, I could definitely see it. Should we move? So let's move swiftly on and see who comes up next. I genuinely don't know whose these are, by the way, so I'm quite excited.
It's
Nice.
mine. It's mine. It's a real Ferrari 250. Normally these things go for
It's
7,
not.
8,
It's
10.
a child's toy.
No, that's a real Ferrari, and it is not. It's just a bargain. This one, 25 grand, just shy of 25 grand. Normally 7, 8 million. The actual car from Ferris Bueller, central driving position. You can see there, just like the McLaren F1. 4 exhaust pipes for whatever electric motor it's got in it. And what I like about it is it doesn't take itself very seriously, does it? It's a stupid thing, really. Because I actually thought, all right, well, this question is a really difficult one because you don't want to appear like an absolute wanker, do you? So you don't want to appear in like, something extremely expensive, very loud and obnoxious. As much fun as you would feel, you would definitely know that a lot of people who didn't necessarily like you at school would be like, oh, look at that twat. But it would be quite fun to turn up in this. But of course, it's a complete waste of money because, as you say, it's a child's toy, isn't it? It is a child's toy.
But it is
25
also
grand.
very fun.
Isn't it? Isn't it fantastic? But it's not my actual pick. I just saw it. And I thought it'd be a lovely thing to highlight.
It would
So,
absolutely
Sam,
ruin your hair on the way to the reunion.
well, it would blow all the rest of my hair off the top of my head.
I can almost.
So Sam, let's go on to my real pick. It's the next one. It's the blue one.
Oh, well, I think we need to stay on this for a little bit longer. I'm just imagining you in like a Mr. Tumble outfit costume in it. So
Yeah, thank you very much. With my knees up around my ears. I mean, maybe I could follow Dan in his clown car Toyota.
that's what you could be some kind of sort of excellent double act.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what I think is quite fun with this is that if I did turn up in that, there would be loads of people who don't give a shit about cars who would go, "Oh my god, he's in a Ferrari! I didn't know how small they were."
Wouldn't you have
Well,
to
how
like
big John got?
wouldn't you have to gear shift from like 1 to 3 to 5 to avoid just smashing the gear lever into your nuts?
Yes, block change all the way up the odd gears.
It is.
I
I
assume
do-
that's not a real gear shifter. Maybe that's like forward and backwards on a electric motor or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I do have to highlight what the gear shifter like. That's a dodgy looking gear shifter. I mean, they all look mildly phallic, but that takes the biscuit.
Why don't we see what John's real car was?
Yeah.
Oh.
So look, the real one
Oh.
is absolutely stunning, isn't it? It's only £5 under budget. 24,995. It's got something like 40,000 miles on it. I think from the outside, it's absolutely stunning. It suffers from the same affliction that Adie's Aston Martin has, in that the interior really looks quite dated You will definitely not get Apple CarPlay in there. I mean, everything just looks really, really old, like 25-year-old sort of interior. But the outside is achingly beautiful, isn't it? And like I was saying earlier on, when you go back to your school reunion, I mean, it's a bit wanky to think anyone judges you from what car you're in anyway. Most people don't give a crap what car you're in. But I suppose we all do. So, this is the sort of fun of the question, isn't it? You don't want something too leery and too sort of idiotic, too loud. You want sort of classy, elegant, something to say, yeah, I'm all right. I've done okay in the last 26 years. And I'm not a complete bell end. And I think this probably fits the bill, although still, it doesn't matter what I turn up into school. Probably most of them think I'm a bell end anyway. What do you think of it?
It's a beautiful car.
I think great.
Stunning.
I actually want one of these. MC Stradale is what I've been looking at for a while to try and get a good one. One of the most sweetest sounding cars there are. It's really beautiful to listen to. I think you found a great answer to the question, John. I think it's interesting though, isn't it? It's like you talked about in the other example of the Ferrari, in the contrast, like, I don't want to show up in this big, leery, loud, like Italian supercar that's got 80,000 miles on it. It's like, well, that's what you've just delivered. But look at the smile on your face. Like, look how happy you would be to pull up in that. And don't tell me that you would approach the car park of the Harvest home that we've all organised to meet our mates in. And you just popped into neutral and blurted the engine a couple of times. Just say, "Hi guys, I'm here."
No, without a doubt, with you guys, I'm donutting around the fields, right?
Yeah.
But the question was about my schoolmates. Most of my schoolmates didn't really care about cars, right? As I highlighted in the previous episode, my mate Andy drove a Rover 100. My mate John Cater had a 306. People had sort of relatively boring cars. And I don't think to this day, any of them have really gone down the car route. What I think is that people would look at that and think it's a nice, slick motor, but they wouldn't think, loud, horrible, sort of pretentious thing. I think there's something cool and classy about Maserati.
How long would it take you? So let's pretend that the schoolmates. Sorry, Adie, for people raising your hands, I've just completely overspoken. May I finish? Just very quickly.
You may.
John, let's pretend a couple of those guys do like their cars. Right, you're at the bar, you've ordered yourself a Thatcher's because, you don't want a beer because you drive a Maserati. And they're like, "Oh, so John, I saw you drive Maserati." You're like, how long would it take for you to say, "Yeah, but obviously it's got a Ferrari-derived V8. Obviously it's a bit of a Ferrari."
That was my question.
Oh, sorry. Well, there we
I'll
go.
put my hand down now.
It's like I used to have a Honda Civic, and some of you will know I had a Honda Civic, and it was a VTI EK9, and everyone said, "What do you drive?" And I go, "Oh, the VTI EK9." And they're like, "What is that?" I mean, Honda Civic. Yeah, you'd always start with the punchline, right? It's like, "Yeah, but it revs to 9,000. It's great. It's a screamer." Anyway, love this chat. Very good. Good choice, Mr. John Hart.
There's something
Cheers.
interesting, isn't there? When you think about when somebody says that question to you, what do you drive? Right. And the first thing is that brand name. I do think there's not that many better names than Maserati. What do you drive? I drive a Maserati. I really, look, obviously I very much enjoy saying I drive a Jag, right? But even I know that Maserati is a better answer in almost every scenario, because if you think about it, whenever I meet anyone that drives an Alfa Romeo, as an example, immediately they are much more interesting to me. But Maserati is like that next level above. There's no reason to buy one. There's no reason whatsoever. Every single competitor of it is better, in inverted commas, better, right? But there's something just magical about almost all of maybe not the more recent quattroportes, but certainly, this sort of series of GTs has been incredible for a long time. And it's just very sad so few people have bought them. But I certainly could imagine a school reunion saying, "I've got a Maserati," is a nod to things, right? You've not got a Ferrari, you've not got an Alfa Romeo, but you've got something that's interesting. So I think it's an excellent choice.
My question was, we've got some real car fans in the group, right?
Sorry.
It's all right, Dan. That'll do. Most of what you said, I think, is going to be edited out. Why are these not more loved? John, your words, achingly beautiful. Dan, your words, Ferrari-derived V8. Why do the market hate these? And it's a bit
Because
like the
if you sit in
Astons, right?
it, it's just
Beautiful.
horrible. It's beautiful
I
outside. It's
know.
terrible on
It's
the
very
inside. It breaks
plasticky.
down all the time.
Stunning
I know.
choice.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
It's also incredibly unreliable, right? It's just like it's really, really expensive to own. Short dealer network, like specialists charge fucking over the odds. Like I've looked at running costs for. Truthfully, I really want one. I want an MC Stradale. It's 2018. I want the one with 4 seats, not 2 seats. And I want it just to. I want to sit in my porch and turn the car on and just listen to it and read the newspaper or something. I don't know, but it's just horrendously expensive. But it's also not very good. Like it's a huge engine. It's got about 470 horsepower, but it's not very quick. Like I think it's 4.7-ish seconds. Let's just say almost 5 seconds maybe. So it's burning trees. It's not very comfortable. The infotainment's shit. Like it sounds amazing. It looks great from the outside, and you can tell everybody that you drive a Maserati. But that's probably as good as it gets. But maybe that's maybe what I'm after personally. Maybe I just want a big, loud sounding, Larry Italian car. And
I
then
think we should all be allowed to make stupid decisions with this stuff, and we probably should be more silly with these things. Too often, practicality takes over, doesn't it? Yeah, and it shouldn't, especially when all you're trying to do is show off to the girls you used to know in school. I mean, the people you used to know
the people
in school.
People.
Yeah.
Very clearly.
What's next on the deck, Sam?
I don't know. We're about to find out. Here we go.
Oh, this is me.
Duts, you're up.
This is me. So 1970 Land Rover Series 2A, I believe. So this sums me up perfectly. So I'm a little bit like function over style. So I want a workhorse. I want a beast that just does stuff. And as we covered last week, I'm a bit tight and I just want something that works for the family. And this kind of does in a weird way. Not under 20 grand, so 19,995. So well under budget because I'm cheap. It's a big old car. It's simple, so really like low running costs, repair costs, because it's basically, what you see is what you get. It's a simple piece of kit, right? So it's not expensive to upkeep. And one thing that I absolutely loved about it is, so when I was younger and I used to play rugby, so I played rugby at school. I also played at the weekend, and I played for a club team at the weekend on Sundays. So I played my school game on the Saturday. On the Sunday, I go and play for I've forgotten the name. I want to say Thornton. Thornton. Is that a Bristol place? Hunty, help me out. Thornton.
Thornton is about an hour southwest of Bristol. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to play for Thornton.
Quite right.
And one of the dads used to come and pick us up in this, and we'd all sit in the back. So there'd be like 6 of us picked up from school, sat in the back, no seatbelts, nothing, just a really plain, simple car. This is obviously like a refurbed one with some nice seats. Like in the one I was in, it was kind of horrible black old school seats. I love this. It's just it's a bit of history. It's a lovely British car. I'm just all over it. Love it.
I love it, mate. I was just
Cute.
wondering if you've checked out the 0 to 60 time and whether it does actually get to 60 or not.
I'm pretty certain it probably doesn't, and I don't give a fuck. Like, it's just, as I said, what I want is a workhorse. Absolutely love a workhorse. And that, essentially, that's what I bought for I did, as part of this, I looked at, like, as I said last week, an XC60, absolutely love an XC60. I was like, I can't put an XC60 in this. I just want something that works for the family, works for ferrying kids around, is big enough to chuck shitloads of stuff in, and this is it. Absolutely love it.
Nice.
Are you moving
It's
out of
beautiful.
London as well, mate? With
I'm
the same
not.
25 grand?
Mate, I'm not moving out of London, but that wasn't really the task, right? It was like quietly explain who you are without saying who you are with a
True.
car. And
True, 'cause
I
And
think
you said, I am a 50-year-old
Ah.
rust bucket.
that's what I am.
More than
That's what I'm
50.
close to,
Good
at
point.
least.
Shommet's still parallel parking 9 years later because it's got no power steering.
No, mate,
It's a great.
mate, I'll just go in
Oh,
forwards, mount the curb, and crash into the guy in front of me because it will make
I
no
just-
difference.
I love how you're like, I'm just going to throw all the stuff in for everyone in London to steal through the canvas back. I won't start it because I can't get anywhere close to it to jumpstart it. However, it is a trophy of a car. I
Mate,
think it is
Callum,
absolutely beautiful. I also love it lots. I've got models behind me. But the one thing that infuriates me about it is the ability to not have two hands on the steering wheel without having to put your arm out the window. Drives me mad. It's like if you gave me that and a pop-up tent to deal with for a weekend, I would just die. But anyway, I think it is beautiful and stunning. But driving around with 13 horsepower and a car made from Brian and Keith is slightly difficult. However, my Toyota equivalent, not much better. But yeah, anyway, good choice, mate.
cheers.
I think the main issue with this car is how Ellie would feel on arrival. So, because she would probably have lost all of her fillings from the vibration of the suspension, the wind, she probably wouldn't have any hearing because it's so loud inside it. I can imagine you turning up and people being like, what's that kind of cool car? And watching you to immediately have a row over the journey and I'll get rid of this thing now. So that's the end. We're never to use it. We're never driving. As you're well aware, my wife has significant patience, enough that she still brought me a few beers this evening. But there are definitely journeys we have which end with you have to get rid of this. And we have those conversations probably on a 3-yearly basis where eventually I have to succumb and buy something else that she hates for 3 years. So, and this would definitely fall into that camp immediately for me.
100%. But I didn't take, like, this car is about me. And the statement I want to make, it's got nothing to do with Ellie.
Nothing to do with Eddie. So let's see who's up next. Unless, Adie, you've got a final word on this one?
All I was going to say, Shomit, green over tan is obviously having a moment.
Yes, yeah,
That's the
I
third
did
green car
mean to
we've
mention
seen.
that.
I didn't see the inside of Dan's Tonka truck, but what a beautiful colour combination.
Thank you. I didn't mean to mention that after you said green over tan earlier, but I forgot.
It's lovely. It's a lovely biscuity leather, isn't it? Okay, let's see who's next.
Well, this would have been a nice segue to more green over tan, but grumpy Sam Ellis told me I couldn't have two cars, even though everyone else did. My choice was going to be semi-tongue-in-cheek, a 1990s Aston Martin Vantage V8, which even though Sam again has said grumpy mode, that's £1 million. When I looked on Wikipedia for that specific model, in the Wikipedia picture, it's got the price in the window, and it's 24,995. So it's very much immediately validated. Outside of our school, the whole time we went to school, the Ginza just across the road had, as Sam thinks, is Aston Martin Vantage. I feel like it was prettier than the pictures we've seen today, or the pictures we saw when we were looking it up. So apologies, there isn't a picture of it, but at the time, gorgeous car. So, like, in terms of for the purview of what would your schoolmates be impressed by, Sam and I sort of know that anyone who's got any eyes for a car has perved over this car day in, day out, every time they went to school. So to turn up in that would be kind of a cool touchstone to something we all loved as kids. And it's, well, like I say, I have this memory of it being this beautiful car. And since seeing the pictures, kind of reminded me of the chat that you lads had last week or whenever it was, in terms of modern era hatchbacks are really boring. The hatchbacks that we had available when we were kids really exciting. And I was obviously watching it. I wasn't part of that convo. Thought to myself, no, they weren't. They were boring as hell. Like your sort of Ford Fiestas and your Mark 1 Golfs and your Rovers and whatever. The cars that we had growing up, I thought we knew they were shit at the time, in the same way as you had your Lamborghini Countach poster on the wall and you knew the car that you had was crap. But like you said, Hunty, it gets you from A to B. Looking back on that Aston Martin Vantage, maybe it wasn't as beautiful as I thought, but like it lives long in the memory of our schoolmates. But my actual answer is functionally this: the car I drive. I don't want or really need to impress people with the concept of something that I could be. Like this is the product of my life choices, and it's also like unquestionably the best car that any of us all drive. Right? It happily will have a family of 4 with hold luggage and a pram. It'll take a whole DIY project. You can pop the roof down, zip around town, fine on a motorway. It goes anywhere, it does anything. I'm on my 3rd one of them now. Love them to bits, which obviously doesn't speak to their reliability, but love them to absolutely love them to bits. Yeah, most fun car I've ever owned. People often like you'll get out of the supermarket and someone will say, "Oh, I used to have one of those a while ago. So much fun, or that looks like it's great to drive. What fun you must be having!" Blah blah blah. I mean, definitely there's an element where my life without having 2+ kids in the house allows me to have this kind of car in a way it doesn't allow some of you lads to. So it's a bit of a flex in a way, compared to some folks who are like, "Oh, I'd love to have that if I didn't have to have the whole family with me all the time." So there's a bit of that. But yeah, this has just been an absolute giggle to own. And yeah, it says who I am because it is who I am. So there's a bit of that.
Like it.
SD.
I was just going to say, I love it. I'm also, I think you're playing it a bit fast and loose with you can fit everything in it.
Fit everything in it, Duts.
And particularly the bit about a pram and et cetera, et cetera. You can, that won't work for children.
That is a true fact. I picked my mates up from the airport, husband, wife, kid, pushchair, hold luggage. Now, I will admit, my mate had to have the full 2 bits of luggage on his chest, and the wife had to lean forward to change gear. That was a manual, though. Now it'd be even easier, but technically it counts. We've had, what's it called? What's the walking thing called? Running machine. Full running machine in the back. Did break Meg's foot when we got it out, but that's irrelevant. As you can see, full raised bed project in the back of this one here. So yeah, this is the magic of a convertible. You're like, "Oh, I want something spacious." As soon as you can take the top down, you can go as high and far and back and wide as you like, unless someone hits you on the motorway. But otherwise, you're good as gold. Put a little towel on the back. Jobs are good.
Dan, you could probably fit in this with the roof off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've had, this is, I mean, there's so many things to talk about. I mean, it was so obvious that you're going to choose this. I mean, being very pedantic, you've chosen a car in the UK, so surely the import charges to the US is going to put you over budget. So, not sure about that.
Well,
Unless
then I
you're-
would choose one that's a bit earlier. But like this one, the green one is 2024, I think, maybe 2023. It's only 24. So
It's
like,
fine.
yeah,
it's fine. But to be fair, the screw union's in the UK, so you've bought this for the UK, so that kind of makes sense. There are some downsides to this, right? The only thing that fits in your garage, isn't it? Really? Like,
well,
you
we
would
definitely
love
want-
you would love an adult-sized car, but you just don't have the ability.
I don't
to
know
put it
that
in.
I would. And the longer I've had this, the more I'm like, I don't know that I want a bigger car, to the extent that I've been perving on that Suzuki Jimny micro van recently, which you guys hate even more than this. Yeah, sure, it would fit my driver, but that's cute and fun. You, by the way, Daniel Eustace, just chose a tiny little Tonka truck.
Yeah, but it's vintage. That was how big cars were then, right? That's fine.
So you've chosen a tiny little old Tonka truck. That's not better.
No, it's much better. It's much better. It's got stories to tell. This has got no stories to tell. It tells a story of
story to tell is,
desperation.
I'm
hanging
fun,
on to my
I
youth.
might be ahead.
I'm trying to pull chicks on the side of the road in San Jose, but I'm really old and it's never going to happen. Like, what is it saying? No, I'm joking. It is very you. It's very cool. You're a stubborn old fucking ox and you won't be told otherwise.
Yes.
Also, you've got to navigate your drive, which is an absolute nightmare. So you've got to have these small, quirky, box-shaped cars to get up that.
Yeah, I'm very limited in my range of ideas, of course.
Yeah. It's either this or crampons, and that's going to win, because crampons don't get you on the motorway.
Fair. Samuel?
Very fun, very fun.
I suspect Sam's idea is going to be spend 24 of the 25 grand smashing down your house to build a bigger garage and then spend 1 grand on anything else.
He's also on mute, which is hilarious because he's the host and you'd have thought no better.
Sorry. So we're going to do a separate podcast episode on Simon's house. An entire episode.
Please.
Right? So we're going to leave that there for now. The second thing is, so I got a message of Simon saying, what was that car that was opposite school all the time? And so he is absolutely right. There was a nice house opposite our school, and there was an Aston Martin parked in said house. Just for clarity, it was an Aston Martin Vantage V8 V550. And he was like, how much? He's like, well, because originally he said, was it this Aston Martin? I was like, no, because we left school in 2000. That hadn't been released yet. He's like, I think it was this. I was like, it wasn't. I remember what it was, right? It was a I double checked actually after we were chatting just before we came onto this. V550. They're retailing for £175,000 roughly at the moment. So our 25 grand budget. Simon's response to this was, I sent him another one. I said, look, you could probably use this. It's a Virage. The cheapest one I can find is 35,000. His response was to go to Wikipedia and go, look, there's a picture of one in the window with 25 grand. I was like, yeah, from like a decade ago. Just because it still counts.
Internet. I found it on the internet.
I found it on the internet.
My defense for your 550 was the Flintstones, because I'm just impressing the school folks, right? We're not going to be doing donuts or whatever. So I can just do the Flintstones body shell system and just walk it up the road, go very slowly, just walk it in. I don't need an engine. Save some cash.
You pay for it on a daily basis. But he rented you for that a day. To be fair, that car always reminded me of anyone who ever drove down Chelsea Embankment back in the day. The house with who remembers To Be and Not to Be?
To Be or Not to Be.
You know.
Yeah.
So for those non-Londoners on this call, on the Chelsea Embankment, there was a brilliant house which had 2 cars. The cars changed every so often.
Yeah.
They were not always the same, but they had 2 cars parked next to each other with the number plates To Be and Not to Be. So,
that's amazing.
The cars were always awesome. Generally an Aston Martin and at least one Bentley, I would say. So
they had a small bit where they had 2 Range Rovers.
Yes, yeah, you're right. I don't know if they're still there. Actually, I've not driven that way for a long time.
Me neither.
For those, sorry.
Just quickly, Jonathan.
Yeah, I was just interested to hear your point about Deaders going massively over budget, because any of us could have done one thing here. We had 25 grand to go to a school reunion. Why did none of us hire a Veyron for a day?
I
thought
about that and I thought it was cheating.
It is cheating. It's fair enough. All right, look, it's time to see the last one. I'm expecting big things from Mr. Sam Ellis. It probably the very toppest draw car enthusiast. So I'm hoping for really big, great choices here. Let's see.
So before I click across,
and regardless, we're going to berate him for it. However good it is, it's going to be shit, right?
So as you all know, I like to find things that are unusual. Okay?
I've got a Sinclair.
Who remembers a Google whack? Anyone remember that?
The word. What was
Google, it? Where you Google it and there's only one hit.
There's only one hit. Okay.
Yeah.
So as a top draw car enthusiast, and I agree, John, I'm probably up there, you and I have a number of searches set up on a regular basis that I check. And what I'm always looking for is a single hit. So I return to my trusty Auto Trader, and there are other apps, I won't tell you how many there are, but I return to Auto Trader to see, clicked refresh, and look to see how many of my searches returned a single vehicle. And then more importantly, only one, because it rarely happens, but only one popped up, and I checked to see if it was in budget. And so and I picked it for other reasons as well. But I think one of the reasons I picked it is, I like something that's unusual, but there's a very different reason I picked it. Okay, so I'm going to switch to it now.
I mean, that is disappointing. It's disappointing.
It's disappointing until you know what it is, John.
You better explain yourself very fast.
Pardon? Okay, so this is. Are you ready for this? Okay.
I know what this is.
Who can even tell what model it is?
No.
This is the superb estate, but this is the one with the ridiculous engine in, and they produced very small amounts of them, right? I want to say this has got. I want to say this has got the V. Fuck it. I think I don't want to. It's not a V12, but it's got some ridiculous engine in it, and they did a small production run. I'm sure of it, because it was on Johnny Pervert's channel not long ago.
Okay, so it's a Laurent and Clement. Okay, so that is the luxury spec. Okay,
That's heated windows.
top of the line Skoda. Okay, however, for reasons I still can't quite fathom, what they then decided to do was take the luxury spec and add effectively the VRS underpinnings. Okay, so unfortunately, it doesn't have like a V6, right? It's still got a 2-liter, right? But it's got a. I know, disappointingly. That's a whole different topic. We can get into that another day. But it's got 280 horsepower. These were very much liked by the police, okay, because they were comfy, because they're big, comfy chairs, okay. And so my understanding is the police took quite a lot of them, right? So why on earth would I pick this, right? And the reason is, I think as I've got older, when I went back to the question, it says you're not trying to impress anyone. I think, as you all know, I've had an interesting 5 years, and there's definitely one thing I care a lot about now, which is actually keeping a much lower profile than I ever have done. Ironic, considering we're doing a national podcast where we talk about things, okay? But I would like, if I turned up to a school reunion, I think, to be honest, I'd probably like to stay a little bit more under the radar and not make necessarily a particularly big deal about it. But what I would like is the odd person to go, that's an interesting choice. Right. And I don't want it to be a big deal, but I want someone to go, that's intriguing. And more importantly, it only costs £14,000 because there was only one of them. And
there's a reason why it's 14 grand. It's fucking shit.
And I'd have a lot of money to change that interior.
It's fucking terrible. I'm so disappointed, mate.
All I see is taxi.
All I see is
yeah,
it's all I want.
Yeah,
so
what's happening here? This is actually one of the better answers, right? Because no one saw this coming. You've chosen an ugly 2-liter comfy Skoda police car.
Yeah,
mate.
wow.
I mean, I'm baffled by your choice. More so because you still have £10,000 to spend. I mean, to change your identity because you'll be so humiliated by it. It's a fucking turd. It's absolutely shit.
The thing I was most upset about was the fact that they didn't put the sunroof down in the pictures. So
to make it look slightly interesting. Magnolia
tell us what you're going to do with this 10
character.
grand, Sam. Tell us what you're going to do with the 10 grand, because I'm dying to hear how
He's
you're
going to go and do the knowledge.
any better. You're going to roll this turd in glitter somehow.
Very good.
I think what I'm going to do, if I was going to spend the money on the car, I had to think about it. I would take it to the same person that Manish Pandey took his Ferrari 4562 and get it retrimmed. And if I had enough money, and this is why I thought Adie would appreciate this particular, I'd probably get it resprayed in a nice dark green, and I'd have a nice green over tan sleeper. Maybe modify the engine a little bit. I quite like the alloys. Don't think they need changing. And I think I'd leave it at that. I'd probably still have £5 grand left over.
And you'd probably have enough left over for your
£5 grand.
I wouldn't have £5 grand left over.
Anything, any bands there, Dan.
I didn't say anything. I got spoken over, so I'll be quiet for a second.
Sorry, mate. You go ahead. My fault.
No, it's fine. I was trying to raise my hand, but it wouldn't work. The moment's passed. I'm still baffled. I'm still baffled. Sam Ellis, with your caliber of owning cool shit and driving great cars and having access to great cars and your knowledge and everything else, and you've landed us with a fucking Crown bingo car. Like, look at it. It's woeful. It's woeful. I need a wee. I've been laughing so much.
I think this might be cheese pie. I think this might be a deliberate
He's got a number
a
two,
deli-
isn't he? He's got a number two. He's
a
got a
deliberate
number
howler.
two.
Better not have another slide because I'm throwing things out the window if I was denied a slide.
There's no other slide. This is what I'd pick.
But
I'd want to.
But how is this even on your watch list?
Oh, I love these. I love these
For what reason? For absolutely what reason?
because I like anonymous cars. I always have
It's so
done.
anonymous. It doesn't exist. Like
That's
it's,
perfect. I don't want anyone to know. I don't want anyone to know what it is. I'd probably even take off the Laurent Clement badging on the side. I think I'd
That's
take.
the
I'd
only
take all
thing
the
that's got
badging
going
off.
for it.
I think even then I'd remove all of that.
no. To be fair, it'd be very good at car boot sales, wouldn't it? Be very good at car boot sales. Get
It'd be
that
great.
top up. Loads of stuff in there.
Great with a boot. Great with a dog. Right. Lots of space for the kids. It's a superb. So it's absolutely massive. But that wasn't what this was about. This was about turning up at a school reunion, and I would want to remain under the radar, go and have a good time, head home. Not think
Mate,
about
turn
it.
up in a
Shomit,
fucking
would you
Prius.
go as a passenger, Shomit?
Absolutely not. Well, yes, because I like a free ride. In many ways. But like, fucking turn up in a Prius, mate. If you want to stay under the radar, like, why would you spend 15 grand? Like, I out of all the cars, and from you, Sam Ellis, I'm shocked. I don't. A Skoda, come on. And that
I was
goes-
like 306 Rally or something like that. Something niche, like really cool. Like, there's so many cool things.
There's
But yeah.
nothing cooler than a Skoda
Well done.
Superb
There
Well
are a lot
done.
of things cooler than the Skoda. This is fucking terrible, and you know it. Let's have a last word from Adie, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
You could argue Sam's just won the game because by his own
I've lost the
admission,
game.
he wants to keep a lower profile. It shows that he's got a bit of an interest in cars, or possibly just stumbled across it because it's cheap. But I think it's a good choice. I mean,
No, you don't.
I would look like an absolute bellend turning up in a DB7, and I would deserve all the shit I'd get. But Sam, super nondescript, can do an airport transfer afterwards. I think it's great.
Okay, but there has to be right. Hang on, but we should have a winner, right? There should be a winner.
It doesn't have to be a winner. I think the audience can decide
Okay,
who's
Let's
a winner.
have a loser. Who lost
So-
that game?
Well,
Sam.
Sam lost the game. Sam absolutely failed miserably. Everyone else saw this as a great opportunity to have fun, and you decided to spoon your eyes out with a blunt knife. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I wish we could redo that and give you some advice to not make a
I
mistake.
don't. I think there's so much more value in that than if you'd chosen something good.
So I will tell you what. I will tell you a little story about something that happened not that long ago, which really cheered me up, which was involved with schools with cars. I'm going to pick my words very carefully here. I went to an event at a school associated with my children. Okay, and been to a number of events at this school, and somebody always turns up in their Ferrari. Okay, and they had. Oh, let me get it right, because obviously, as you know, I don't particularly like lots of the modern Ferraris. It was the one after the 458, 488. Turned up in his absolute red 488, which he loved, right? And he would turn up to it, a drop of a hat, he'd turn up in this 488. I was aware that there was another parent at the school who had an Enzo. And I said to him, and it took me 2 years, I kept saying to him, can you please, and he doesn't drive it, kept it as an investment car, sat in a garage, not even on site, right? It's off site, doesn't drive it at all. And I asked him, I said, when you get it out, just once, can you just bring it? Please bring it to school and just park it next to his Ferrari. That's all I want you to do. And it took me 2 years, but we have finally managed to achieve it. I even went to great lengths to confirm this other person would be turning up. And yeah, he did exactly that. We'd saved the spot next to it and with another parent, and we then got that parent to drive off so there was a gap so he could leave it. And
That's very good.
as far as I'm
Love it.
aware, he's never driven it to school again.
Nice.
The irony of that story is at the school reunion, anyone could turn up in any piece of shit and park it next to your car, and it would look better.
That's good. That's what I
Man's
want.
got a point.
Man's got a point. On that note,
But you have to.
go. If you got a final
I-
comment before we take a quick
right.
commercial break.
You have to admire Adie Keane, who fall into this category of owning such a prestigious thing and actually using it. So he may have this Ferrari driver in question may just only use it to do the school pickup because he wants to show off. Sure, maybe. But actually, if he owns such a thing and he uses it quite a lot and goes to the shopping in it, fair play. Fair play. Like, that's quite cool. Like, if he's turning up and it's got stone chips on the front of it and it's a bit dirty, like, fair play to the guy. That's pretty cool. If it's completely spotless because he's just pushed it into the driveway so everyone can look at his gleamingly shiny Ferrari every day. Sure, bit different. But yeah, anyway.
Sadly,
I love people that use that shit. It's good.
No, sadly, it does look like it's specifically polished on to only do school runs. So, and on that note, let's have a quick commercial break, and then we shall return for the prediction round. No, even better than that.
Conspiracy Corner.
Conspiracy Corner. Do we all go in the corner for Conspiracy Corner?
You can if you want, mate.
Great.
Okay, welcome back from that short commercial break, and now it's absolutely our favourite time.
Well. It's Conspiracy Corner time again, isn't it? This one's sent in by our good pal, Rob Cooper.
Ooh.
So we have our first guest appearance on Conspiracy Corner. You tell me, chaps, whether you think this is a true or a false. It is Operation Acoustic Kitty. Now, if you've heard of it, you go last on the guessing, all right? In the 1960s, at the height of the tension between the US and the Soviet Union, the CIA explored an idea that sounds like spy novel plot, turning cats into mobile listening devices. This was known internally as Operation Acoustic Kitty. The concept was pretty straightforward. CIA scientists reasons that a cat could move
somewhere else
through public spaces, parks, street corners, even outside embassies without attracting the kind of suspicion a human agent would. If the animal could get close to conversations between Soviet officials or other targets, microphones and transmitters attached to the cat could relay those conversations back to handlers. To make it work, research teams embarked on a series of highly complex procedures.
There's no way this is a thing. Carry on.
They surgically implanted a microphone inside a cat's ear canal, a small radio transmitter at the base of its skull, and wove a fine wire antenna through the cat's fur towards its tail. They even experimented with additional operations to address distractions like hunger or instinctive cat behaviors. The project wasn't cheap. Bear in mind, this was at the height of the Cold War. Contemporary estimates put the total cost of around $15 to $20 million over several years. A significant investment in an era before microchips and digital communication even existed. But turning a cat into a spy proved to be far more difficult than wiring it up. Training a cat to behave predictably under field conditions was essentially impossible. Cats being cats did what they wanted. The most infamous anecdote from the experiment involves the first field test, the very first. According to some accounts, the team released their acoustic kitty near a park where two individuals were sitting and talking, hoping to eavesdrop. The cat promptly wandered into the street and was hit by a taxi, ending the mission before it began. What is clear from declassified records is that by 1967, the CIA concluded the project was impractical and abandoned it entirely. After the cancellation, equipment was removed and the cats were released. At least those still alive were released. A declassified CIA memo described the work as demonstrating some technical achievement, but ultimately judged it unsuitable for real intelligence operations due to environmental and security factors. Spy cats. Perfectly true or catastrophically false? Duts.
My God.
Okay, so straight off the bat, how would you get a cat to do anything you wanted to do? So if you're like, oh, there's some spies over there having a chat, could you just go over there, little kitty
Training,
cat?
mate. Haven't you ever trained a cat?
Cats can't be trained because they're assholes. They're much like toddlers and
Operator
children.
error. I've trained cats sometimes.
Here we go.
Sometimes.
I mean, like my first thought is absolute bullshit, but because it's so bullshitty, I think it might be true. I don't even understand the logic in my own head to come to that, but I'm going to say
Reverse
it's true.
psychology, maybe.
I'm going to say it's true.
All
And
right, we've got a true from Shomit. Dan, what do you think, mate?
Well, the fact that it's a cat story from Rob in Singapore, I mean, cats in Singapore, like, you know, the whole lucky cat thing. I feel like this is Rob being a bit FOMO, missing out that he can't make this because of time zone. He's gone into some popular agentic model and he's like, make me a conspiracy theory about cats because I live in Singapore from my friends who are doing a thing about Conspiracy Corner. And it's chewed out this fucking laborious chat around spy cats. I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd. How do you even get to that? However, based on prior Conspiracy Corner things where I've thought complete bullshit, the what was the one that was on episode, I don't know, 2 or 3 about what was it about seeding of the cloud seeding? Not cloud seeding,
yeah.
cloud seeding.
Control.
Yeah, I was
Canada.
like, categorically, that's bullshit. Turned out to be true. Was it true? No. What was the? Yeah, I think it was, right? Anyway,
There's moments of truth.
I've just enjoyed the craziness of these things, but there's a lot of detail in there. It's Soviet based. It's Cold War based. Like the need and the want to have to go and do something to listen to conversation would have been fucking off the scale. So why wouldn't they have tried it? Like, let's put a cat on this. Let's put a transmitter on a cat and go and have them, I don't know, coo up to this person and listen to their conversation. Maybe. To Shomit's point, how do you control that? It's ridiculous. I can't control a 9-year-old child, let alone a cat. I think it's a spurious thing that Rob's made up, and I think it's bullshit.
All right, we've got a true from Shomit and a false from Dan. Adie, let's go to you next, mate. Why wouldn't they just use dogs?
I mean, well, the dogs don't roam freely, right? The cat's a good choice. I've got a cat, and the little fucking terror just takes your eyes up when you get closer. It does its own thing. And I'm with Dan, but no, not Dan's final conclusion. Actually, I think this is true. I think there is a but moment where the CIA clearly tried to do some bonkers stuff, and it was pulled. You said yourself, it was pulled, and I think that's the key. They got so far down the line with it and realized it was impractical because you can't get a little Macintosh and a flat cap on a cat. I think they probably thought about it, did trials, went so far down the path, and then pulled it at that point. I think that's the devil in the detail that kind of makes this credible. But the absurdity of it is insane. But I've read enough spy novels and watched enough Hollywood dramas and dramatizations that maybe there's something in it. So I buy it. I mean, I'm going to watch this back in a point in the future and think, you fucking moron. But yeah, here and now, 2 glasses of wine in, I think it's a great idea.
All right, so you're going true. All right, so let's move
I'm
on
going true.
let's move on to Deaders then. Deaders, was it a cat or was it 3 mice in a raincoat stood on top of each other?
I mean, I'm with Adie that they're hard to train, hence this one of many like constant injuries from my cat. I'm also aware that CIA, I think it was CIA, might have been the Navy, probably the Navy, US Navy, did long sets of trials putting listening devices on dolphins and training dolphins to listen for subs. Dolphins are a lot smarter and more trainable than cats, right? Cats domesticated themselves. Dolphins, anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I like it. It's definitely one of those where you could go both ways, right? There's enough plausibility. It's Cold War. They're throwing a lot of shit at the wall. But equally, you sort of think, well, why wouldn't you just bug every single bench or every single whatever? Like, and this is before the story said, so what was the text, Hunty? Something like before microchips or something like that.
Yep, before microchipping animals. Yeah, this was in the 60s.
Yeah, so that feels like a lot of clunk. Like I can imagine with the tech now, that'd be a small thing you could put on a collar, and then just release a shit ton of cats and see what comes back. Training them and whatever.
It's like a cat with a Sputnik on it said, "Hi, I'm just coming to say hello. How you doing?"
Insert into its brain and all this jazz. I'm like, don't get me wrong, CIA hasn't got any ethics for any of this stuff, so they don't care about killing cats. But like, God, it feels like such a long shot, doesn't it? Like that it would work in any chance of working. I'm going to say no.
I don't want to sway you, Dadders, but they did try and blow up goats with their minds. So, that's one thing.
Yeah, right. There we go. Exactly. Like there's if it works, the payoff is huge. And if it doesn't work, clearly they're on government payroll. They've got a department where they just get to do random shit all day, every day for a few years. If it doesn't work out, you get reassigned to like mine fucking goats. So maybe. I don't know. How many have we got so far each way?
We've got 2 trues and a false so far.
Oh, goodness. I'll go false.
All right, it's even. Sam's got the deciding vote.
Well, I'm disappointed that I don't have a specific keyword to hang my entire decision making on.
Is this going to happen every week?
It worked out quite well in the first round.
There's nothing this week, Duts. There's nothing. It's sad for me. I was leaning towards true simply because I've been wrong so many times. However, Deaders, you've triggered something in me there. This idea that they would... I'm thinking about just trying to do this in the modern era, releasing cats as listening devices, releasing hundreds of cats and then hoping they pick up on something. We couldn't do that now, right? We couldn't do it now with AI and the ability to transcribe things. I just got this vision of hundreds of cats and somebody sat there with headphones on listening all day, hoping they picked something up that's interesting. The idea that, no, it's bollocks. It's absolutely bollocks. 100%. Coops, good try, but no way. So I'm going hard on false. It's just so stupid that if you really think about it, just take a step back. This is proper batshit crazy. Right?
It's cat
shit crazy. The idea that anyone would be releasing loads of cats and hoping for the best that they walk near anyone. I know they came up with some crazy ideas, but at least they had some thread behind them. This is proper stupid. So no,
what I like about the fact that Sam's admitting he hasn't learned anything from being wrong every time is that once you've made your decision, or it's clearly a coin flip, we don't have any idea. You're like, right, here's the reason I'm definitely right. So I'm going to put all my chips into the coin flip, regardless of how it's going to turn out.
And we know how it's going to end for me. So, John, put us out of our misery.
Usually not
We
well.
do know how it's ending for you, Sam. We could have guessed you'd be wrong even before I started. This one is completely real. Operation Individual CIA project in the 60s funded with millions of dollars involving surgically implanting microphones and transmitters into cats to spy on Soviet conversations. It failed because cats refused to behave predictably.
Of course it did.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, was this directly after they did the San Francisco thing with the whorehouses and the LSD?
It was in the same era, yeah.
Do you reckon the same guy came up with the same thing? It was like,
could be.
I know what would be a really good thing.
Yeah, the cats were on LSD as well. He didn't mention.
Yeah, of course, naturally.
Maybe the cats were in those houses having LSD and it all just got a bit wrong. Right?
Well, they're called cat houses.
Cat houses. Well done, Rob Cooper, for sending that in all the way from Singapore. Bravo. I think that was excellent. Never a case of FOMO has been more obvious. But yes, hope he can join us another series very soon.
Coops, I just got travel authorization to come and see you in Singapore. So see you in May, baby.
Oh,
nice.
right.
Look, guys, it's what's very clear is that Sam was not able to make that prediction, was he? But he's got another prediction for us now.
Yes. Good.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So before we move into our predictions, I just wanted to show people something that John and I were talking about, which we found quite interesting. So if you recall a few episodes back, we made a prediction about Bitcoin. And since we made that prediction, Bitcoin's not done so well. So almost to the exact point that we said, I wonder what's going to happen to Bitcoin, it has dropped quite dramatically. So I don't think any of us have significant Bitcoin holdings anymore, as we've discussed previously. But that's quite the drop. There's nothing else to note apart from if you wanted to know about Bitcoin falling, you probably should have come here first. So let's move on to last week's prediction. So last week we had a double prediction, which was who will be top of the Winter Olympics medal table at the end of the day on the 11th of February. And we asked a secondary follow-up question, which was who will be top at the end? Okay. So let's have a quick look at how we're doing. Okay. And so do people remember what they picked?
Yeah.
Shomit, do you remember?
Yeah, Norway. Not that hard to remember.
Double Norway. John, do you recall?
I don't remember. I think it was maybe the Netherlands.
You went Netherlands for the first off. AJ went China. And
went
I
USA.
picked Germany. Okay. So we were just talking about the 11th. Duts. An excellent win for you. A clear winner.
Lovely
So,
stuff.
I've come in second here this week.
I think that's my first win.
It is your first win. So excellent work from you. John, bad news. You were just outside the top 10 with the Netherlands. And China in 12th, actually, in fairness.
Surprised by China. Hunty, what was the logic behind the Netherlands?
Oh, I asked ChatGPT. Turns out I was wrong.
You said something about flat land.
Yeah, well, I mean,
land.
that was the logic that ChatGPT gave me, and I thought that's probably right, isn't it? You know, like, well, my point was that it's not necessarily like a hilly, mountainy place. This is, could be anywhere with cold weather. It's certainly not the UK, is it? I don't think we've got a single point yet.
Oh, it's so disappointing. I was about to say, like,
Fourth.
it's been so exciting to watch, but how disappointing is it? Like, we're fourth, and
really?
we're seventh. Like, it's like, come on. I think today is the skeleton final that we may stand a chance. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if it's that. I think we do stand up quite, but I've forgotten her name. Is it Mia Brooks?
Mia Brooks, yeah.
Like
Fourth.
that girl coming fourth, I think, like in my heart, she won. Like that was such a massive trick that she tried to pull on her last run. And if she'd landed it, well, she did, and ultimately she did land it. She just didn't land it legally.
Well, she overlanded it, right?
Yeah.
She over-rotated.
Yeah, and she would have been the first woman to ever land that. That to me, like, I don't care that she came fourth. She won in my heart.
That's excellent.
And that's worth more than a medal.
Yeah, but let's be clear. The medal table doesn't lie. We're not even on it. So
No.
Let's move on. So we now move on to our next prediction, which is very exciting. He says, clicking the wrong thing.
I can't remember what this is. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's Six Nations time. We're all excited, but we're also sort of not excited because, one, they started doing it midweek and also started playing adverts during the ruck. No one's happy about adverts during the scrum.
Yeah.
So, but the question was, we're playing Ireland at the Allianz Stadium on February 21st. Will the total number of points scored in the match by both teams combined be over or under 45.5 points?
It's such a great question, Sam, because 45.5 it makes it a coin toss, doesn't it?
Well, isn't it the average? The average amount scored over the last 6 games is like 45.
You can go back a long way, and it's still
perfectly
45.
Yeah. Two very good teams.
I spent quite a lot of time on this one.
It literally can't be. For the last 3 games, the average points must be over 50.
No, it's not true.
Last 3 games, you're at 46.5 average.
Correct. Last 5 games is exactly on this average, actually, I think.
Sure.
As someone who's got no
I can
interest
list
in
them for
rugby,
you,
I went
Dats. Ready?
over.
We've got 2025, 49, going back by year.
Oh, no,
45,
sorry. I thought you meant the
45,
last
47,
3
50,
games.
36.
No, sorry. I thought you meant the last 3 games in the Six Nations up till now, regardless of who's playing. As in
No,
the
we're talking
last
about
3
England,
last.
Ireland.
Yeah, sorry.
No, the question,
Ignore me then. Ignore me. Sorry.
the question on that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like,
So,
yeah.
Dats, let's hear it from you, mate. Give us your logic.
He's dying. He's
what-
dying.
What are you saying? What's the call?
Man, it's super tough, right? Okay, so Ireland Ireland last week were terrible. No, actually, that's wrong, right? So France were just a lot better. Ireland nailed every single one of their set pieces. They basically played a relatively perfect game when it came to set piece. They can't problem solve. I don't think Prendergast is a good enough fly half, to be perfectly frank. I don't think he's a good enough international fly half yet. He will be. He'll be excellent. He's just not good enough now.
He's
And
still
they
being
did.
breastfed.
Sorry, yeah, and
He's
he
still
did.
being breastfed.
And he did exactly what he was told to do, and he continues to do that, despite the fact that everything he put in the air, the French team took. And it failed and failed and failed again. And the other issue is that Ireland just don't have the depth that England have. So they've got their old school players who have 50 plus caps, and then they brought in a bunch of new kids who have, I don't know, 4 to 10 caps. And they can't turn a game, whereas England have so much depth. They have such good players. It is beyond belief. Like we don't know from a week to week basis, who's going to be on the wing, who's going to be on the center, who's going to be in the back row. Just don't know, because we can cover those positions twice over. Saying that, I would not write off Ireland, and I think the France game will be a bit of an awakening. I'd like to make this prediction, having seen what happens this weekend. I think it'll be tight. I originally, when I thought about this, I thought England will score 30, Ireland might score 15, maybe 20. But actually thinking about it, I think it'd be a lot tighter than that. I think and I don't know what the weather is as well, actually. That's the other thing I haven't looked at. But I think it'll be aerial. I think it'll be dirty. I think there'll be a lot of like big power plays in the middle. So I don't think they're going to get to 45 points. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say under.
All right, first under. Adie?
You're on
Days
mute,
at
mate.
Twickenham.
I've unmuted him. I'm unmuted him.
I'm good
Sorry.
now.
There you go,
Sorry
buddy.
about that.
You're good. You're good.
Marvelous. I was saying, I love a day out at Twickenham. We all go and have drink Guinness by that lovely pub, whatever it's called, Barmy Arms, and we all make our
Barmy
journey
Arms,
up
yeah.
Twickenham High Road, Barmy Arms, in matching Barber jackets and Chelsea boots. And we look like a whole sort of gang of rugby wankers. I have no idea what's going on during the game, so I've deferred this question to my my good friend and rugby enthusiast called Ben. And Ben thinks England for the win, 19-12, total of 30 points. I'm going under based on nothing but his idea. Don't ask me to justify it. Sure, did the lovely technical argument, but this is just a toying cost for me.
I think
Under.
Ben's about right. I think it'll be slightly higher than that, but I think he's there or thereabouts.
Yeah, 19-12 for England. 30. What's that? 29 points, 31 points, and under. That's the extent of my prediction.
I think that was an excellent decision, Adie, to go and consult a local expert. Deaders, have you managed to find a local expert in San Francisco?
I went the other way and went, I know nothing about rugby. I love this question because there were 2 possible outcomes, and I was heartened for you boys to say this is basically a coin toss, or as Adie said, a coin toss. And so this substantiates my decision to put no research into this at all and write the word over down. And there we go. Over.
Excellent. Good work. That's it. And it's worked out conveniently because we got 2 unders, 1 over, and now
There we go. Spread
we
it around.
move to well-known rugby fan Jonathan Hunt.
I am not well known, but I am a rugby fan. We, as you know, we are enthusiastic Bath supporters. And I'm very pleased to see that we've actually
Could
got
you just make sure that everyone knows that you learnt everything that you know from me?
I did, yes. Actually, when I went, I did tell you a little story. When I went to watch, I think it was Wales, Italy in the
It was.
Principality Stadium, I said to Shomit, I don't know anything about rugby. This was 20 years ago. Don't know anything about rugby. What do I do? Oh, the client's taking me. I've got to look I know what I'm doing. And Shomit went, look, if the ball's in the air, you shout, spread it. And if the ball's on the ground or if they're getting into trouble, you shout, set it. Yeah. So I did. And it didn't work. I'm pretty sure they didn't know what they knew that I didn't know what I was talking about. And they pointed out somebody in the crowd. He said, look over there, there's Barry John. I didn't have a clue who Barry John is. I still don't really, but apparently famous in Welsh rugby. Anyway, I didn't used to know a lot about rugby. I played it at school. Now I know quite a lot more about it because we've been season ticket holders at Bath for the last 4 years. We're having a lot of fun watching all that. So I'm pleased to see that we got 5 players from the Bath squad in the England squad, including a few good names like Guy Pepper and Underhill, Max Ajomo. But my boy Ben Spencer, Bath captain, is there, and I think he's capable of huge things. I think it's going to be quite a high scoring match because we're in an era where big entertainment means a lot. I want to see this. I'm confident of this, whether it's real or not. I think it's just in my mind that I want more scores, and those are the games which I like to watch. So I'm just going to go for that because I like to see more scores. I don't have any real sort of rugby logic behind it, other than to say in the last 10 years we're slightly above the 45.5 is it average. And I think England's are sort of almost a good ticket for the win this time round. So let's hope for a big score. I'm going to go over.
So 2 things on that. One, I think you're too used to watching Premiership rugby, where it's so expansive now. It's so like Bristol of 3 years ago. Everyone's picked that, and I hate to put this on Bristol, but it is. It's Bristol that changed the Premiership, and everyone plays this really expansive attacking rugby where they score points, but they also hemorrhage points, which is absolutely lovely. And it's
Yeah,
great.
but don't you think that's going to come through to the Six Nations as well? This is how people are playing the games. The score lines we see at Bath are unbelievable. We're up in sort of 70, 80 point games.
Yeah.
Maybe more sometimes. This is going to come through to the Six Nations, part of my logic.
I don't think it will because there's more defensive set, but I love it and I'd like to see more of it. Completely agree.
Excellent. Daniel?
I think the commerciality of the game is driving some of these game changes, and I think the game of rugby will change to make it much more entertaining. And to your point, John, I agree, but who knows? The data would suggest it's going to be perhaps lower than 45 points. 2 very good teams. Sean, I think you bang on. Weather could have an impact on the style of the game, but I'm hedging that it's going to be more exciting. I think that we're a better team. We're a better team than France, and I think that I know it's a bold claim, but I think we're a better team than France. Ireland came back against France. That was a 50-point game. I think that we might be even better, and so better all the same. So I think I hope that we put more on the board and we have much more engaging, fun game. So I'm going higher than the 43 point. Was it 45?
45.5.
40.5. I think it's going to be higher than 45.5 because I want it to be higher than 45.5. And that's the thing, right? I want it to be good and I want it to be fun and I want it to be high scoring. You're not asking me to place any money down. The data suggests it's going to be lower, but fuck that. I'm going to go for the big, fucking huge 10-try win. There we go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, so would be to finish. I'm with you, Dan. Right. And I think lots of you know that I go to watch lots of sporting events and watch various teams of all shapes and sizes lose. I like watching England lose at rugby, or England lose at football, and Tottenham lose at football, and Harlequins lose at rugby. So there's some good news for the Six Nations this year. I'm not going to a single game, which means that all of the games will be good and will win by lots because I'm not going to be there. So if you mapped out my attendance at games and watching teams win, it would not work out for me. So I think it's going to be exciting. The other reason is I feel like this thing, and Dutch, you alluded to this earlier. You just look at the depth of people they can bring on in every position, right? I think Twickenham, or sorry, the Allianz Stadium.
Fuck
I think
that.
it needs a bit of a tear up, right? I would love to just go and smash Ireland, and I think we really need that. I think it would be a really good confidence boosting win to just take this, because obviously France have come out and set a bit of a bar. What I think would be brilliant for the rest of the Six Nations is for us to come out and go, that's good, but we can do better. So yeah, I'm going higher. That's where I think that's where we end prediction.
Oh,
The
can I just say
prediction section. Of course you
two
can.
quick? Can I say two quick things, if that's okay with you, Sam?
It's very okay with me because it gives me time to set up for the next
Okay,
section.
so one thing is I'd love us to smash Ireland out of the park, but to get 45 points, just us over Ireland, is very slim. So if we smash them out of the park, they score no points. That's a big slog for us, considering we only turned over Wales by 49-7 or whatever it was. But more importantly, what I'm really excited about, what I really, really, really hope happens, is we get, and I don't even care who wins, is I hope that at the end of the Six Nations, England and France are unbeaten, and we go to the last game of the Six Nations in France, and it's just us against them, because that's exactly what it should be, because we are by far the two best nations in this tournament this year, and that will be epic. It would be just such a clash of titans, because France are looking so good, and they also have decent depth, as do we. It would be brilliant.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. I'm done.
That sounds
That'll
good.
be a spectacle to finish on. It would
Yeah.
be good. And you'd win it with all the grace. It's really good. I agree.
Now, before we move to our last section, we're going to take a very quick commercial break. After that incredibly successful commercial break with our incredible set of advertisers who we absolutely have no idea who they are, but we'll insert later, we're going to move to our final section, and I'd love to pass on to John to complete this brilliant evening.
Thanks, Sam. I love this music section. I like it more than Conspiracy Corner, but I don't get to guess Conspiracy Corner. But this week it's a bit of a poignant one for me, because just before Christmas, as some of you guys know, some of you don't, just before Christmas, a mate of mine from my old village died in a car crash. And I recently went to his funeral, and it was categorically the saddest day of my life, because he was 48, leaves behind twin boys and just a great family in Kimberley, the village where we used to live. And it really affected me. And it's sort of, like you said last week, Sam, it really sort of cut to the core of why we do this podcast. It's not to become famous, it's to speak to our kids in a way, isn't it? And it's to sort of, put something in on paper. So anyway, Simon really sadly died. I've got his order of service here, and he left us with one hilarious little joke in his funeral. There were some really nice songs. We went into Bright Side by the Killers. We had the Goo Goo Dolls playing. Suspicious Minds was a song that he always loved. And I remember hearing that on the way back from Ascot races, absolutely hammered in a minibus and singing along. But the closing music, when we sort of, the service was finished and we all sort of deeply, distraught, and like it was so sad because he was only 48. Then Gold Digger by Kanye West comes on. And it's one of his favorite songs, and a song that he and his wife just absolutely loved. And it couldn't be any less appropriate in that scenario, but at the same time, it couldn't be any more appropriate you know? I just thought it was great. And it's just a really nice closing because it makes you think, well, actually, you know, we have to carry on, don't we? And we can't just sort of wallow in minor key, boring songs. And actually, you know, we should just celebrate the fun things. So with that said, I'm sorry to sort of be a bit depressing about that, but I started to think, what song do you want played at your funeral? What would it be? And it is depressing, isn't it? But at the same time, it could be really uplifting if you want it to be. It's the last room you'll ever curate. It's your final chance to say, this is who I was without explaining yourself. So what do you choose? Is it something sort of somber and sad, or is it something uplifting? How do you place that memory of yourself for the people at your service? Shomit, let's see what you've got.
I'd love to know if anyone can guess what I'd have.
Is it Christmas wrapping?
Jack Sparrow.
No.
Is it Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut?
Is it that awful person you put us onto last time? Who was that?
That was that was Jack Sparrow. No, I kind of thought you'd get this. So it would be Don't Stop. It would be Don't Stop. It would be Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
Okay.
Which I feel
okay.
like is a little bit my song. It's something that I just love that song. I've always loved it. And it's, you know, when you get like a wedding invite and it's like, pick 2 songs that you want, that's always the first song that I put down because I just think it's fucking awesome. And I think at a funeral, it's slightly uplifting, it's slightly sad, it's got kind of 2 levels to it. I like it. And yeah, it's what I'd go with. But I don't know, but that hasn't changed. I say that has been probably my favorite song for about 10 years, maybe 15 years. Just hasn't changed. And I love it as a song. There you go.
Great.
It was quite easy for me to pick.
It was straight away for you, wasn't it? Sam, what do you think?
For a second, I thought you were going to say Don't Stop Moving by S Club 7. I was like, that's a bit dark.
Don't stop moving to that.
Moving, yeah, that's good.
I was really worried where you were going with that. I was like, okay, that's good. You've diverted. Sorry, Adie, I think I interrupted.
I was going to say, let me just put my hand down. If we're all being a bit poignant and loved up here, yeah, you're absolutely right, Sean. That song epitomizes it's you, isn't it? I know you somewhat questionably claim that you brought it back into high fashion about 15 years ago, but it couldn't be a better fit for you. And solid choice, mate.
Thank you.
Sending you a hug. I'll press play on the cassette player when the time comes.
Adie, what would you have at your funeral?
And do you know what? I want that. I want it on a fucking boombox in a cassette. On a cassette. Adie's pressing the button.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Auntie?
Adie, what would you have on your boombox at your funeral?
Oh, man, it was hard. I mean, you start by thinking, I mean, I want my funeral to be a bit of a big party, not and actually I've just updated my will, and in my letter of wishes I've got some guidelines for my funeral, and they'll stay sealed until you know, some poor bugger has to open them. But you think about the classics like The Show Must Go On or Friends Will Be Friends and He Wants to Live Forever. They're all by Queen. I grew up listening to Queen, a fantastic band, but they're all a bit sort of somber and miserable. And then I was sort of thinking a bit more and thought, I'd be a bit mischievous and play something like Bright Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy. And then, I mean, Kasia would be horrified and she'd never forgive me. Admittedly, her problem at this time, because I'm not part of the situation.
We're definitely
but I
playing
want
that.
her to sort of let me go with happy memories.
If you die, we're playing that, 100%.
To be really soppy about all of this, we'll make it the second song. Make it the second
like maybe
song.
like middling. Like,
because in a moment of all seriousness, you just as they pushed me into that big fire. Yeah. He's so hot. Actually, back to where we started. The one song, assuming Kasia hasn't left me by this point, is got to be my wedding song, which was, if any of you remember, was Have I Told You Lately by Rod Stewart. And then have a little cry, and then go and have a massive party and get smashed on my account. Do that for Kasia, and then go and make her smile and have a big party, and yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, I think you're
If
right
Kasia
there,
has
mate.
left me, just play "I'm Too Sexy" first.
Just switch the
But
order
it,
up.
but it is a good sort of you know, particularly the last song you hear in the funeral is like this is the moment now where you stop being sad, don't you? And you go off and you have a party. And actually, Awake is a really sort of weirdly cathartic, kind of fun event where you talk about the person and you know you say goodbye in a way by kind of celebrating them, which is
Yeah,
pretty
and
cool.
that's really important. That is exactly what Awake should be. Like,
Yeah,
Awake is a celebration of life. It's not standing around being fucking moribund.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And so along
Get
those lines, Aiden, when you were saying like the song that encapsulates me, what jumped into my head immediately as a function of your wedding, and obviously a wedding is a bit of a time capsule of the songs that are popular at the time, but Valerie by Amy Winehouse and Mark Ronson, for me, it always takes you back to your wedding because it's huge at the time, and just remember it's like fond memories of dancing around to that. So I think that would also, for me, be a nice capstone to your funeral, would be to take us all back to the dancing at your wedding as well. I think that'd be a nice segue almost.
So what are you choosing, Dennis? Is that yours?
No. So this was easy for me. I just went to my long-standing my funeral playlist, which includes.
Of course.
Of course you did. Everyone knew that was coming. Everyone knew that was coming, didn't we? Yeah.
We've all got the Google invite for your fucking funeral. You're so organised. It's unbelievable.
It's too far out. No one's there.
we'll all ignore it until 24 hours before.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was booked up, lads. I didn't realise. So my playlist includes Tenacious D's Double Team, some maudlin b-boy scratching by Kid Koala, and pseudo-appropriately, given the collective nickname of my schoolmates, the Monkees, This Monkey's Gone to Heaven by the Pixies. But number one is Asleep by the Smiths, which is like unabashedly, indulgently sad, self-pitying, 17-year-old depression music. So yeah, I've always just loved that song. It's incredibly miserable, but I fucking love it to bits. So this is not wake music. This is cry your eyes out, misery guts, wedding music. But yeah, just wonderful stuff.
Do you mean funeral music? But carry on.
Funeral. Really bring the wedding down a notch.
Well, look, we are expecting something pretty weird from Dan, so let's go there now.
Well, I don't like talking about this shit at all. I really struggle with with the whole funeral and dying thing. I don't deal with it very well. So I found it quite difficult. I was in the office today actually, and I did a bit of a poll. So what was the stat, John, that you had on this question? Over 40%? No, what, remind me.
So half of people over 40 have already thought about their funeral music, and over 70% say music is one of the most important elements of a funeral.
So I asked everyone, I asked the majority of people around me in the office, no one's thought about it. And I asked people that are my age, our age. So I questioned it a little bit, and I was asking Charlie, he's like, no. So I didn't feel like it was silly to have not known or thought about this before. But anyway, I did do some thinking about it, and I have done. So there's three. So I love a piece of music by Tenacious D, Wicked Game acoustic version. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Recommend you to watch it. It's fucking cool. I love the juxtaposition of that versus the song and the lyric and how they perform it. I think it's really cool. The second piece is something that we are all very close to, and that would be the Righteous Brothers, Loving That You Love That Love and Feeling, which I just think would the sentiment of it is huge, right? For all of us, we've all been put on shoulders at our weddings, at key moments, and we've all done that thing. We've all got some sort of hard skin on our left knee from kneeling down from it. But I think the one I want is Black Betty. And I want Black Betty sung at my funeral, and I want whoever's in control of the funeral to pre-organize things about me that are funny that can be put into the song. So that's what I think could be quite fun. It should be a celebration. I like to think that I'm never serious and I'm quite comical, and I think that song would do it justice.
I love the thought of us beforehand going like, Funny things about Dan. 5, 6,
Yeah, yeah,
7, go.
yeah. It's like, whoa, Black Betty, blah, 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 Black Betty,
Always
Terrible sense of
Toyota.
fashion.
Yeah.
Bam-a-dam.
yeah, there you go. I mean, look,
Always late.
you know.
Bam, lamb,
Bam-a-dam.
Toyota.
Jeez.
Hey,
Should we ever go?
there we
Should we ever
go.
go now?
There, no, that would be rude because I'm still alive. But I just feel like it would be it would be quite cool. Maybe it's a wake song rather than a church song. Who knows?
Mate, back it.
Um,
Back what you've got.
But
it's
yeah,
good.
that's what I think. I just thought it was quite a nice way of bringing everyone together.
Yeah, it's quality.
That's lovely, man.
I like it.
What do you think? What have you got? Have you got a list of songs or a single song?
So I think the first thing to say was, I think you're right, John. Obviously, you've just gone to a funeral, and I think going to one has more of an impact on you than when you have a longer gap, right? It makes you think about it. So I did engage the services of my wife to have this discussion because I'd sort of forgotten. She said, "Well, we've done this. It's in our wills." So I went to my will and I opened it up and had a quick look at it. And interestingly, I don't know what your wills are like, but I've got the ability to amend different bits of it. So I've got like anyway, complicated will, but I have the ability to amend bits of it, but also not look at other bits. And so it turns out I have not amended the song from my will for a very long time. Or one.
Is that a will thing?
Pardon?
Is this a will thing?
We have
Because I don't have a song in my will.
we have a reasonably complicated set of family
I
estate
think it would be in
planning.
your letter of wishes.
Yes. So
Yes.
yeah, but we've got an online system that we go onto, and obviously our family setup is complicated, right? So I went back to that and I realized I hadn't looked at that for a long time. And I've actually not looked at it, the song, only briefly after Lindsay and I met. So, and the song that was in my will specifically, I was a little bit disappointed with myself, if I'm honest. Right?
It wasn't another
Was it
octal,
boy-
another bloody super.
Was it Boys to Men?
And sadly, yeah. Water runs dry, John.
No, end of the road.
End of the
surely.
road, exactly. It was a double hit. No one was allowed to stand
Very
until both of them had been listened to in full. No, it wasn't actually. I was trying to work out the dates of when I made this, and I was thinking, that's about right. It was Louis Armstrong, you have all the time in the world. And it was about the time I was rewatching a lot of the Bond films, and I'd obviously watched On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So, because, Bond's wife doesn't make it. That's the end. That's the end, right?
The irony.
The irony, right? And I did sit there and think, what a twat. That was the first thing I thought. And then the second thing I thought was, well, obviously Daniel Craig didn't quite make it in No Time to Die. And that is the ending of that film while they're driving, right? So he's gone. The film ends on. And I was like, I can't have that at my funeral. That's too James Bondy naff. It was naff back then. It's even doubly naff now. So I'm going to have to come up with something else. So I haven't had very long to think about this. And Lindsay and I had a long chat about it, about different ideas. She and I think, have very different ideas of what our respective funerals might be like. But weirdly, we both came up, we sat and we wrote down lists, and we both came up with one song that was on both lists, interestingly. And as some of you know, we go to Ibiza most years now, which is brilliant, which is really, really good fun. And last year we went to see Camel Fat, who did an extended set. And I have to admit, I didn't know that much about Camel Fat, but I'd always wanted to go see them, but I'd never seen them live. And there's a song by Camel Fat called Hope. And it's Camel Fat and a chap called Max Milner. And it's a combination of, it's very uplifting. It's still quite clubby, but it starts beautifully. And I thought that would be a nice thing to go to. I wouldn't say that that's definitively my last choice, having made the Louis Armstrong choice and realized, God, I don't want that. But right now, I think that's where my heart would be, because I think it for me, it evokes such brilliant, we've had such brilliant times going to Ibiza, but also I just think that the song itself and the lyrics are very much about looking forward, and I think that's a nice message to have. So that's where I settled on tonight. Whether it will actually be played at my funeral, I'm not necessarily sure. I feel like this is a very big topic to get right, and I've not spent enough time on it. So, but I think now that would be in the mix.
It sounds like we've also got permission to make sure that we will go to Ibiza if we are in the circumstances to celebrate your life and go and play these songs, whether they're in the church or otherwise, and go and get absolutely mashed up in Ibiza.
Well,
Sounds great to me.
Yeah,
What-
you have a stag do for a wedding.
Whoa,
Why don't we have a stag do for a funeral?
Whoa.
Exactly.
Whoa. Why do we have to do it when I'm dead? Like, can't we do it when I'm alive?
I think
want me
we'd
to be there.
all have more fun if you were dead.
Oh.
Because the question is at your funeral. The question isn't, should we go for a fucking piss out?
Well, I would argue that the point of this entire podcast is to ensure that we do brilliant things. So we should probably just go to Ibiza.
We should do that anyway.
We should do it anyway.
Well,
If you want to go when I'm
once we
dead,
start-
that's up to you. But I think we should probably go when I'm alive. I think I'd enjoy that more, personally.
When he's dead. When he's
When-
what would be quite cool is if we get enough sponsorship, we can do one of these from Ibiza.
Fantastic, right? That's
paid for.
Oh, that's a great
That's the
idea.
end
Charlotte.
game. That's the end game, right?
Yeah.
Well,
That's very fun.
That is the move. All right, guys. Let me let me tell
John,
you where.
what's yours? What's yours?
Let me tell you where I am. Gay bar, Electric Six.
yeah.
That would keep the family guessing, wouldn't it?
Funnest song in the world.
Is that actually what it is?
No,
No.
That's a shoot from the hip.
no, that's as bad as Highway to Hell from AC/DC. Like, there are some really bad choices out there if you want them. I mean, I talked earlier on about Simon's last hurrah with Gold Digger, which was sort of amazingly appropriate for the people that knew him, and if anyone ever thought about it who didn't know him, it would be completely inappropriate. And there's another example of that. So, Deaders, you'll remember Buzz from Whistler.
Yeah.
And at his funeral, his girlfriend Katie played Gangnam Style, and on her own, in the most heroic bit of bravery I've ever seen, ran down the aisle doing the Gangnam Style dance until people followed her in mid-funeral. It was
Brilliant.
so fucking cool. And so I think, that look, there are appropriate funeral songs, but if you really know someone really well, then the songs that you really want to play are the ones that really mean a lot to you. Which is cool. So, you could do a similar thing with Don't Fear the Reaper, couldn't you? Which would be an appropriate funeral song. Blue Oyster Cult, but you'd have to ensure everybody had a cowbell. And that would be, potentially quite difficult logistically. But then I actually so I was listening to a few songs today thinking about this, and actually a couple of songs really brought me close to being quite upset. And the one that really got me was Fleetwood Mac's Songbird, which is a very beautiful song, which I'm
Great
sure would just pull everybody to pieces in a situation like that. And I don't really want to do that. And then I sort of moved on to Pink Floyd stuff. Comfortably Numb would be a kind of appropriate as a headline, but then you realize it's all about kind of druggy, weird sort of hazes. So maybe that's not appropriate. But I did stick on the Pink Floyd trip for my final choice, which is Great Gig in the Sky. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Great Gig in the Sky is a wonderful tune that I would listen to start to finish many times over and not get bored with it. But I've never been able to get my family to listen to more than 10 seconds of it before telling me to turn it off. So it would be my final hurrah. So look, you've got to listen to this whole song because it is just one of the greatest pieces of music ever. And even more appropriately, there is a bit of vocal at the start, which is actually a recording of a janitor in the Abbey Road studios. And he says, when asked, are you afraid of dying? He said, I'm not afraid of dying. Any time will do. I don't mind. Why should I be frightened of dying? There's no reason for it. You've got to go sometime. And I thought that was bloody great. But actually, he's wrong, isn't he? Because we're all afraid of dying because it probably involves some horrible, disease or some, crash or, some horrible accident. So we're all afraid of dying, but we're not really that afraid of death because once it's happened, it's happened. And you just want your family and friends to carry on in the most appropriate way possible. So there it is, Great Gig in the Sky. I don't think anybody would particularly enjoy it, but if I was looking down, I'd be like, yes, finally, I've got you to listen to the whole track.
That's amazing that you just want to punish people. Dudders?
Yeah. In the Futurama episode, Amazon Women in the Mood, the lads are killed by being shagged to death by huge Amazonian women, which would be a pretty good way to go. So, like, not everyone's afraid the way of dying.
And on that note, I think, Adie, do you want to finish from there?
I'm sure if anyone can, Adie can.
We can't.
I don't know why you came to me. I have nothing to add to being shagged to death by Amazonian women. Better than the car crash, though. If anything, that last little 10 minutes just gives you reason to sit back and reflect. And kind of one of the great things about this podcast is the way it's reconnected a lot of different people in the group. And we should keep this up. We should keep this up. Let's not all bump into each other's in like 10, 20, 30 years at a bloody funeral. Because Christ, what a moment of reflection that was.
Cheers to that, mate.
John, I don't know the
Absolutely
song,
right.
but I wrote it down. I'm going to go and listen to it. And yeah, maybe replace Have I Told You Lately with Gangnam Style. That's the one for me.
Well, look, if you do go and listen to that song, you will hate it just like everybody hates all of my music. But I hope that
Not
you think of
true.
me when you listen to it.
Actually, but saying that, Adie, you've brilliantly created one of my famous segues into how we can finish this podcast episode. We're going to have a slightly longer break than usual between the next one. Do you know why? Because we're all going to meet up in person. That's what we're doing. And we're all away for the weekend and we're going to have a great time. And frankly, that means we're not going to record a podcast because we're going to go and have a good time, mates together in the real world. And if you're thinking about doing that with your mates, just go and do it. You don't have to do a podcast. You can just go and hang out and have fun. So if there's a little delay until the next one, it's because we're living in the real world, not the virtual one. So for tonight, let's say goodbye. It's been absolutely brilliant. Dan and Adie, what brilliant introductions to both of you. It's really made us realize, we always said that we needed to move beyond the original group that we did all the testing with and working out how this would work. And it's been an absolute success, in my opinion. And now we progress slowly but surely till we get to the high points of bringing in Beaker at some point.
It'll never happen.
It's going to happen. We're going to work so hard on it. And when we get there, I'm very excited. I'm very excited on all of our behalf.
It will never happen.
It will help. So thank you very much, guys. I think that was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Listen, that's the end of the podcast for this week. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.